Hey y'all, how is everybody today? See, we got a few people on already. So, Ben is incoming. He's down in the warehouse a little bit. And Samantha is right across from me. She's not going to be on camera today. Well, I mean, maybe she'll come around, but she's there in the chat with you guys. So if you have any questions, she'll be helping feed us some questions. And Ben will be joining us shortly. Yeah, Josh, I know I'm late. Let's see. Baker17 says, good afternoon. When you make grain spawn, roughly how much do you put in your 12-pound grow bags to get things started? Also, how many times do you typically expand grains spawn from liquid culture? So, there's a few things there. I will try to answer as best I can. It's all subjective, but let's just say that, if you're doing one 5-pound bag of grain spawn can go in anywhere from 10, 15 to all the way to 50 12-pound blocks. So how much you're putting in is entirely dependent on, how heavy you're wanting to spawn. The less you spawn, obviously the more money you're saving on spawn, but the slower your bag is going to grow in. And then, how many times do you typically expand grain spawn from liquid culture? I don't really know what you mean by that. Do you mean like once I make a bag of liquid culture, how many times can I expand that bag of spawn? I mean, theoretically, as long as everything's sterile, you can go forever. But more realistically, you're talking 3-4 times maybe. So that would be, I thought there. Who was it? Okay. All right. Here's Ben. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Andrew.
Give me 1 sec. So, check out what I did there.
What did you do there? Oh,
I got your Man of War thing on there.
That's fancy.
Yeah, man. That's what I was doing down there earlier, taking a picture of it. Cool. All right. Glad to hear that you're doing well, Josh. Victoria Jimmy says, OMG, I've learned so much from you, and I just started my mushroom farm, but I've had a lot of contamination, like 50 out of 55 bags. I don't know what to do. Probably increase your cook time. That's usually the way it goes. So,
yeah, if it's not everything, then it's probably not coming through the spawn.
Yep.
It's probably coming through your substrate, not getting cooked reliably.
Yeah. That's, you have... So Lucky Do, or not Lucky Do, Victoria, this is one of those things that this is your life now when it comes to mushroom farming. It's going to be narrowing down every problem until you finally find the one.
What is it that went wrong on this thing?
Yeah.
Oh, what went wrong on that thing? Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah. Which vector was it this time?
Yeah.
So, and it changes throughout the year. It's one of the reasons why I tell people, like, people always ask me, like, when am I a mushroom farmer? And usually I just say it's when you've grown for about a year, because then you've experienced all the seasons, you've experienced at least somewhat of the yearly, changes that cause contamination spikes. That's just the way it goes. So even if you get everything perfect, which you're not, you're still going to see contamination. Just a question of how much. Good luck narrowing it down. If you've got specifics, we can absolutely help you with it. But Lucky Do says, after the mushrooms begin spawning out of the bags, do you stop misting them each day?
I'm guessing it's talking about like a grow kit.
Yeah, are you Lucky? Are you talking about like a grow kit? Because we have a humidifier set on a humidistat, and it just goes through the same cycle all the time. So, how's your Cordyceps going? Hey, Samantha, will you go grab that container of Cordyceps? I'll show you, Herbal. One moment. Here you go, Ben. What do you think about this one? Is it wiser to make one large 10 by 20 fruiting room or two 10 by 10 fruiting rooms? On that shelf with the liquid culture.
Yeah, so in answer to that, it depends on what your goals are. I really like my 10 by 20s. I think it gives nice 5-foot aisles, foot on either side and 3 feet in the middle, and it works out pretty well. 1 foot for each shelf on either side of the aisle. But the reality is, it depends on the format that you have. Where's the access coming from? If it's coming from the side, then you might be better to go with 2 10 by 10s. We ran out of a single 10 by 20 for years, and we just rotated down the aisle and cleaned consistently. Never really went through full dry out periods, just continuous contamination management, and that worked fine.
Yep.
Some people swear by having to entirely clean out a room. Our experience says as long as you have contamination management, then it's not essential. So honestly, either way is fine. As far as using the same equipment, you can use a single humidifier for a 10 by 20 and get away with a single exhaust, so it means that you can use a little bit less equipment. Of course, that depends on your native humidity. That works well for us because we are in a high humidity area, and so we can get away with. So we just use a single ultrasonic 12 head. Though I think you have 2 in there right now, don't you?
I've got 2 of them, but they're way overpowered. I had to back one way off. So.
Okay. But yeah, that's the main thing is you have to double up on equipment if you have 2 smaller rooms. It's not a huge deal. Either way is fine.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest complaint we've had about the ultrasonics is that they have a hard time keeping up with the humidity, and we're in a very wet climate, so it works well for us. You might need to scale up a little bit higher in drier climates.
Makes sense to me. I feel like that's a good answer.
TH, how do I grow such majestic beard? Don't cut it.
Yeah, don't cut it.
That helps.
Herbal. I have not done a lot of cordyceps yet. I've got superworms instead of mealworms or whatever, but I just took some of them and put them in this little plant container and then just sprayed them with cordyceps, and it just took off. So I've not really had any issues with it so far, but I also haven't had anything to fruit yet. So we'll see how it goes. The mycelium's growing really strongly. We'll see if it pins at all. Then I'll know I'm on my way with just a simple superworm as a complete substrate. But I am going insect substrate for that. We are starting a small farm. What should we charge for pink oyster and lion's mane at a farmer's market? Samantha, when you did farmer's market, you just did $20 a pound, right? For everything? Okay.
Yeah, you're probably not going to charge on a per pound basis like we charged.
Right. By the basket.
By the basket. And that was essentially a quarter pound. I think at one point we had a slight discount for a half pound, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, I can't just say one thing, because it's going to be different in New York than it is in Tennessee. We have different food costs. And so you're going to have to do some research on your market, but the general recommendation is go high and work your way back rather than starting low and then having to go back up. Because it's a lot easier to go down than it is to go up. When you're selling directly to the public.
Big time. Yeah, people don't like it when you raise prices on them, but they sure do like it when you lower prices. So, let's see. So yeah, my thought is, as a good baseline, in Knoxville, Tennessee, we sold it at roughly $20 a pound, but it was $5 baskets, and the baskets were weighed out to be it was roughly exactly. We weighed them out to roughly a quarter pound, and then if we went over a little bit, we didn't. It doesn't matter because you want the basket to look full, and you want people to get their money's worth. So, let's see. But as far as pink oyster and lion's mane, like at farmers market, we didn't differentiate. We did everything at the same price. So, quick question: I bought my bounce of your liquid culture 3 months ago. Must have been bulk. And haven't had the time to start my journey. Do you think they're still fine? They've been in my fridge. Thanks. Yeah, they're probably still good. I have used liquid culture that is set in a syringe in room temperature that it was a year old. And it grew in just fine. So I think that you're probably okay, especially being in the fridge.
Yeah, what was it? Somebody on the syndicate?
Where they got
sat out in the cold for 3 months and then got burned in a burn pile because their dog had caught it off the porch and buried the package. And then he was like, I'll give it a go, and it seemed like it was still viable. So, yeah, it's fairly resilient.
Yeah, he was growing mushrooms off of it. So they went through, the dog got a hold of them, chewed them up some, and I guess hid them. They then, like you said, 3 months of cold. He thought he never got his order. And then they went through the burn pile, and then he's like, well, I'll try them out anyways, even though, the thumb tab it was melted off. It was crazy. But it survived the fire, too, and he's growing mushrooms off the blocks that he made off that stuff, So yeah, it's like Ben said, it's pretty resilient. I just ordered your watercolor oyster. Oh, no, lost the chat. Just ordered your watercolor oyster, looks beautiful. How do you describe its flavor? I mean, I have not had much experience with its flavor. It's a brand new one. The texture and flavor, I would just describe a lot like a blue oyster. The main thing is the beauty. That's what I would really consider a farmer's market oyster. Not that you couldn't sell it to restaurants and make good money off of it, but chefs care a lot less about what it looks like before it goes on the plate, whereas people at the farmer's market really just go gaga for all the little differences that they get to see in mushrooms. So, that one's just really a beautiful and productive oyster, more than a change in taste and texture. I am breeding it with the super scallop and some isolates to see if I can't get a change in texture and flavor with some of that beauty with it. Let's see. You were doing mealworms for the Cordyceps. Oh, that's herbal. No, I'm doing super worms, which are very, very similar. Yeah. I'm so bummed. I got my grow tents put up and laminar flow hood built in the basement, and then broke my ankle last week shoveling snow. Looks like springtime will be the time to start growing. Yeah, Zach. I had a very similar experience this past summer, fall. I guess it was summer that I had the problem. I slipped and fell and. Yeah. Huh?
Said you had a fall.
I had a fall in the summer. That's right. Yeah, and didn't break my ankle, but when I
it pretty good.
Yeah, high sprain and low sprain. And then the guy I went to that worked on it said I was about a step away from PT. So not nearly as bad as yours, but physical therapy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But so yeah, not as bad as yours. But I feel you, man. It knocked me out of commission for a while. Let's see. How do you Hypnotoad? Oh man, I love that name. How do you manage grain spawn production? Do you try to keep strains available at all times for quick fruiting, or do you aim for a target goal? Say a chef wants a strain, but it's in cold storage. So basically, if I know that a mushroom is popular and it's the time of year to grow it, I start making regular amounts of bags. Like I'll need 2 or 3 bags of this. So whenever, let's say I run the 2 autoclaves and I get 12 bags, then I know I need 8 of those for 2 days worth of production, and I'll want to do 3 bags of spawn of oysters per run, plus 1 bag of Hericium. So that basically I'd go ahead and inoculate 2 bags of Hericium, and then 6 bags of oysters. And it'll be a mix because we sell a mix of oysters and a mix of mushrooms to the chefs. So I kind of do what I feel like doing, but at the same time, I do have certain, like the King Blue. The King Blue gets represented almost every week. You know, with our workhorse mushrooms, they get spawn produced of them pretty much every single week. And having liquid culture available allows me to just pull what I want when I want it, just right there off the shelf. So I don't really put them in cold storage. I mean, I put my library in cold storage, but beyond that, I don't do like liquid culture cold storage or grain spawn cold storage yet. I do want to get where I can get a fair amount of inventory of grain spawn produced and get ahead. But I mean, right now I'm back ordered on stuff. So
we'll be at that point fairly soon.
Yeah.
Because I've got the walk-in. What is it? It's a 12 by 14.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And we'll be able to store grain spawn in there.
Yeah. But it is currently being used for incubation overflow.
Yeah,
because it's so cold. Oh my gosh, it's been cold the last little while. So the walk-in has actually been a walk-in
incubation.
Right. Walk-in heater.
Yeah, we actually have a little heater in there. Though, by the way, I unplugged that days ago.
That's
probably the bags are producing all the heat they need, so
that's fine.
But yeah, Hypno. That's how I manage that. Let's see. Oh no! Where am I at? I have spawn bags and manually missing them each. Oh, misting. Gotcha. For that, I don't know when. Like if they fruit, you pick them. I would stop misting them for about 7 days and then start misting them again. Because it's usually about 7 to 10 days that you start seeing them pinning it the second time. I watched the episode you had with your Discord members. I'm very interested in Spore Addict's HRV system. Do y'all have any more info on how that works, or any way you can expand on that conversation? That's a Ben question again.
Yes, we do.
If you want details, you might have to ask for details.
Oh, yeah, sure. So, yeah, Ben, the easiest way to get you that information is probably just to refer you to what the Fungus' video that they did on Brad Kuhn's heat exchange. Because Ben used Brad's design. And Brad did a good enough design that it might as well just be standard. We have one that is also built to that same design. I just haven't gotten it installed yet because, I'm a slacker. What do you do?
That's fair. So what the Fungus' video with Bradford Kuhn's top shelf mushrooms?
Yes.
Okay. And he's got an HRV, so...
Yep. Because Brad, he's up in Canada.
You're right.
Where no real human should ever live. But, whatever. Anyway, it's terrible cold, and he's able to grow year-round using that HRV setup, so it's quite effective.
Yeah. Yeah, what was it? Ben Dooling in Montana was showing that it's like -9 outside, but the air he was pulling back into his grow room was 65 or something like that.
Yeah, he was...
Some ridiculous, energy savings.
Right.
I can't wait
to make up for 1 degree instead of 70.
Right.
It's
oh
ridiculous.
My gosh.
It was ridiculous. The thing's got to be running at 98% efficiency.
That is insane. Cordyceps substrate. So the only thing I have experience with so far is bugs that I just showed. I don't really want to go with a vegetarian substrate, so I'm just probably going to maintain the bug culture for the Militaris. Can we preserve mycelium in sterilized water for long term than on solid media? So, Helsinki FUD. We knew a guy that did that, and I've seen it in radical mycology, but I've never met anyone that had success with it. The guy I was just talking about that we knew did that, I asked him how it went, and he's like, oh, it was not worth doing. So, probably better just to keep using slants like most people do. My goodness, Samantha. You're going crazy.
I'm trying to answer every other simple one. So
I
you can
gotcha.
go more in depth on the others.
That's good.
I think that's great. Oh, she's even talking about the one that his dog chewed the syringes up in the fire. Oh, man. Absolutely, Rocket. I'll keep you updated. When using Thor, do you need a mixer? No.
No, that's the whole point, is that you don't.
Yeah. It's, everything gets mixed together whenever you put the spawn in.
Right. Yeah, so when the original Thor it would put it down one material and then the other, and so they were stacked, and then we put the water on, and so they never did mix. But I've seen people run their bagger and then manually mix it, and then you mix the spawn in the lab anyway. So it's a waste of effort.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're hand bagging, which I've seen some people doing, don't worry about swirling the pellets around. Don't worry about trying to mix it. When you put the spawn in, it's going to mix.
Yep.
Try to value your effort as much as you can.
I mean, mushrooms are a nutrition transport system already.
Yep.
So even if things aren't mixed super well, that's okay.
Just let them do their job.
Yeah, they'll move stuff around.
Yep.
Let's see. Do you have any plans to start selling lion's mane liquid culture? I got some from another supplier, and the mycelium that is growing in looks quite weak and not very dense. So
you already have lion's mane.
Yeah, I already have lion's mane on the website. We have a Hericium bulk pack. It's got lion's mane in it. Lion's mane comes in the medicinal bulk pack, and I'm pretty sure we have it listed by itself. But just an FYI, Hericium is always lighter mycelium than oysters. We have a system here when we're putting Hericium bags into the grow room. I have them put in before you can really even see growth, because the growth is so thin that by the time you can see growth, a lot of times it's later, like you've already getting pins in the bags, and you've increased your chance of contamination. So that it always looks a little weak. Hey guys, what's more important for king oysters, high humidity or air exchange? Having trouble doing both. I'm going to say air exchange.
I don't know. So I'm not a mushroom grower. That's Andrew. I build stuff.
That's fair. So yeah, I do kings, and I will say that to me they will grow a little drier just fine. It's the fresh air really needs to be up for them to grow well. So again, it's still going to be a balance. No matter what you do, you're going to have to find a balance between the two. But I would sacrifice a little bit on the humidity side before I did the fresh air. Oh dang, Zach, that's crazy, man. Ankle surgery.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Do you guys charge for delivery, or is it baked into the price per box? It is baked into the price. What we do is, anytime we get a restaurant that's kind of out of the way, we use that to then start targeting restaurants that are close by, which allows us to build routes that we don't need a delivery fee for. So, any advice on growing your Pathfinder oyster? Yeah, that is an interesting one for sure.
Don't expect it to look like any other oyster mushroom.
Yeah.
That's the biggest piece of advice. It really wants the fresh air, and even if you have plenty of fresh air, it's going to look like it doesn't have enough fresh air.
Yep.
It is a climber.
Yeah, we call it tuliping. The mushrooms grow out, flip up, and then grow larger. So if you pick them before they flip up, you'll be picking them the moment they pin. So they don't look like normal oysters. They look more like tulips. And then they are more finicky with fresh air and humidity. If you have like blue oysters that look just fine, your Pathfinders could be starved for fresh air. But like he's been saying, sometimes they look like they're starved for fresh air, and they're not. So Pathfinder is really one that I suggest that more novice growers grow instead of like brand new. In fact, I think that I've got that on the web page for the product. I think I've got that on the product page that that it's suggested for people who've got a little bit of experience growing oysters already. Have you ever grown matsutake mushroom? No, we have not, because you can't grow matsutake. Or have experience with matsutake mycelial growth conditions. I have not on that. I have seen people grow the mycelium. I have never seen anyone fruit them. And I don't think that you can. At least not yet. I mean, it's just not been figured out yet.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's always the caveat, is that it hasn't been figured out yet.
Right.
It's
yeah.
like morels.
It will be. And morels are already, like Midnight Mushrooms is already showing
right
advances and getting good.
They'll get you little baby morels.
Yeah.
You can get little petri dish morels all day long.
Exactly. Any experience growing wine cap on sawdust substrate or master's mix? Yes. It does not seem to like it as much.
Doesn't seem to fruit. It likes a good turd now and again.
It does it does seem to really enjoy a good turd. Like Black Cow, spelled KOW. You get it at Lowe's. It's just cow manure compost. That usually works really well in the bag with it. But I'm trialing out growing them on straw pellets right now. And my guess is that the wine cap's going to do a lot better on straw and manure than it did with sawdust. So, I hope that helps. You're very welcome, Lucky Dew. Ramping up for the local farmers market. Any packaging tips? So, not really. We kept ours really simple, which may be my tip, but it was brown paper bags, sandwich bags, and then basically you get to market, you start folding, and you make little baskets. And then,
I mean, my advice there is see if you can find a good cheap clamshell, because that is a pain.
It was a pain, though it did give you something to do, like stand there and do, but...
Yeah, I'd rather just not be doing anything.
Well, that's fair. Don't sit at market. That's some good advice. Don't sit at market. Stand.
There is that.
It's 4 hours. It's not that bad. My wife and I are starting up a gourmet mushroom farm. What is your best business advice? Oh my gosh. I always hate when people ask me for my best business advice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole range of things that we see. Andrew and I were just talking about this yesterday.
Because I never know how to simplify it.
Well, yeah, so the big thing is there's a couple pitfalls that we see happen time and time again. One of the big ones is, if you're new at this, then don't try to scale up too fast.
Yeah.
Don't get too big for your britches, whatever you want to say. Grow into it. The other one is very carefully manage your expenses. We've seen it again and again where people have this pie in the sky dream of they're going to take over the local market and all this stuff. And so they spend tens of thousands of dollars on equipment and then don't see a return fast enough. The other one is manage your own distribution.
Yeah, sure.
There's this beautiful allure of selling to a distributor because they will take hundreds of pounds a week, but they'll pay you half what you could at market, which means that your margins are going to be, or not market, at restaurants. Which means that what you get off of each pound is going to be very small compared to if you take the extra work to make those sales yourself.
Right. So
grow into it. Make the connections directly with the chefs. Systematize everything.
Everything.
And
so wait, what do you mean? So that's a good question, because I said that the other day to somebody, and somebody said, "What do you mean by systematize it?"
Okay. Look at your process and say, "This is not just something I do. This should be a system." So Andrew sells to chefs. He has a sales system. It's not just a matter of, every time I have a flush of mushrooms, I have to go call everybody and see who wants something. He works a system, which is, we have chefs on weekly orders.
Yep.
And they're incentivized to do that. Do you still do a discount?
Not anymore.
Okay.
No, the way I do it now is I just explain to them that if they'll commit to it, then I can commit to them every week.
Right.
And then they won't call me and I'll be out because I'll have them covered. Basically, I look at it as they're renting space in my grow room more than buying mushrooms.
Right.
So,
and so basically, we don't have to sell every week. We just have a consistent supply, and we know what demand we have to meet.
mm.
And then there's some flexible. Luckily, we have some restaurants that are flexible enough to where if we have a bumper crop one week, then they're happy to take extra.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean is, don't do everything as a one-off piece of action. Find out how you can put in the work up front to save the work on the back end.
Yeah, so kind of like a good symptom of this is if you're having to constantly throw yourself, your labor, your time, your body into the gap to make your business work, then wherever you find yourself routinely doing that, you need to build a better system
Yep.
to automate that, to take care of you during that.
And when you're first starting out, then everything is going to be a one-off, and that's just part of it.
But you just do it as only as long as you have to until you
Yep.
get that system built.
And figure out what the biggest problem is with each one. So our production system, back when we were doing it ourselves, our biggest problem was it was tedious and awful.
Mm.
And so something as simple as just putting the radio down there,
Yes.
or having the stereo with the internet set up, or Andrew put his laptop down there so that he could watch movies or TV shows while he was working. Just find a way to be comfortable and enjoy your life, because that's what it's all about.
Right.
And we continue that tradition even with the employees. They've got their own speaker and they listen to whatever they want to while they're running production.
Caught them watching Bob's Burgers the other day.
Yeah, they watch it all the time.
Do they? Oh. Ah.
Yep, or listen to it anyway.
Right. Yeah, they're more listening to it while they're working in the grow room than watching it. So
I mean, which is fine.
yeah.
But that's a big thing. And if you don't have the right equipment, so that's another thing we say is the most important tech is technique. If you have the equipment to do things wrong, then you're just wasting your time. Oftentimes we will do a process manually. I mean, you always have to start out manually until you have equipment, but then figure out what the best process is going to be and get the right equipment to do that, or at least get something that's the least bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. Recognize you're always going to be doing it wrong. That's one of our superpowers is the philosophy that we function with, which is we do it wrong. We're okay with that. We just try to do things less wrong as we go along.
Right.
If you're trying to do things right, then you're going to get bogged down. Don't worry about doing it right. Just do it less wrong over time. That's my advice. The end.
The end. Very well. Do you prefer a boiler with cattle trough or walk-in cooler in terms of sterilizer? So, I mean, we use a cattle trough with a boiler. Everyone I've seen with those, like, walk-in rooms, they are always having to, like, work so hard to just keep them from falling apart.
Yep. So I've seen people do the walk-in rooms. There's a number of issues. The first one is it takes forever to get up to temperature. It also tends to rust out, or if it doesn't rust out, then the steam is very damaging to the foam, the insulation. And so if they can't adequately control the steam, which they tend to not be able to because temperature fluctuations, bubbles, whatever material it's made out of, so then that very quickly damages the insulation. The insulation starts falling apart, it starts blowing steam out. It takes forever to get up to temperature. And so, I mean, people make fun of us for the steamer trough. I know it's the wrong solution. It's just not as wrong as the walk-in. The other thing is a lot of people want to put their blocks on rolling shelves and put them in there, and it absolutely wrecks those shelves.
Yeah, it does.
And with how expensive they are, you're going to be blowing through money.
Like, I'm actually, so the galvanized that we've got, I actually noticed that the two that have been sitting in the grow room growing the golden enoki are rusting already.
Okay.
So, I think the green ones are the ones we're going to have to use.
Epoxy.
Yeah. The epoxy coated ones.
I don't think those are galvanized. I think those are stainless.
Those are stainless. They're stainless and they're rusting like that.
Yeah, stainless will still rust.
Oh. I thought stainless wouldn't rust.
There's different grades of stainless, and it's generally more resistant. But if there's surface damage, so the issue is, there's a whole chemical.
Gotcha. Well, and mushroom spores oyster
yeah.
mushroom spores in particular are super hard on metal. It seems like.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I wish somebody could. Maybe if some of you guys know why oyster mushrooms are so terrible on metal, let me know because I really want to know what's up with that.
But yeah, the big thing about stainless is the higher nickel chromium count, and when they oxidize, it doesn't expand the material. But when iron oxidizes, then that rust pops out and it actually breaks the surface. But if you don't passivate it and remove the surface iron content, which is what they do with the citric acid, then the iron's still there and it can still rust. And so this lower grade stainless, it doesn't tend to get passivated, it still rusts.
Interesting.
It's like the paddles in Prometheus, they're stainless steel. They started rusting like a year ago. It still works.
Right.
But yeah, people talk a big game about stainless, but stainless isn't stainless.
Gotcha.
And it needs to be treated with respect for what it is. But yeah, it'll still rust.
Thank you for the HRV answer. Totally amazes me. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it amazes me too. Like, we want to get our HRV in by summer, I think, because summertime here is awful. I don't know.
We want to get it in within a month.
So, and yeah, summer here gets terrible. August is the worst time to be alive, in my opinion. So, Ben and Samantha may disagree because they don't like the cold, but
This is true.
yeah. Hey guys, I haven't done my research yet, but I'm harboring ideas of spawning wood chips outdoors with wine caps. How would you do this? What is the suitable substrate, and what can you offers? So I'm not sure what you mean by the last one on what we can offer, but other than I'm about to start selling wine cap liquid culture, but wine cap will do well on wood chips outdoors. The best way to do this would be to make some spawn, and what I would do is make like a bag of grain spawn, and then use that grain spawn to inoculate a bunch of wood chip spawn that you've autoclaved. And you really don't want sawdust spawn, you want wood chip spawn. And then you take that and you know, if you've got your wood chips laying down, you wet those, throw some spawn out, throw more wood chips on top, wet that down, you're good to go. Wine cap, we've got a lot of people that have, at that point, we've got a lot of people that use the wine cap beds from our like mother bed that we had, and that's what I was going to say is at that point, once you have a bed established, you can just go out with a shovel.
Just dig it up.
Yeah, dig a hole, fill that back in with wood chips, and then move all that myceliated wood chips to another spot. And man, you can spread wine cap around like that like crazy. It's one of the few mushrooms I've seen that does really well. Like it's almost like it's energized when it comes into contact with contamination. Mm-hmm. As opposed to like getting the grain spawn to grow in is a pain in the butt because it'll only grow in like a quarter of the way, and you have to go in there and beat the crap out of it so that it'll continue growing. It's like it needs some sort of disturbance or fight. It does not do well when life is just handed to it. So, it's a good one to do. That was one of mine and Samantha's first mushrooms. We did that one outdoors. And we'd get crops 2 or 3 times a year off of it.
All over the yard, not just where we planted them.
Right, all over the place.
Yeah, it's a runner.
Yeah.
They really like okra stalks.
They do like okra stalks, yeah. I ordered King Blue from you guys, and I've grown it out multiple times to maturity on Masters Mix blocks. And every time it has started a dark brown and turned light brown, never any blue. Any thoughts? Yes, Gil, so that sounds like blotch. Like, are they not growing... are they growing to full-size mushrooms and they're brown? Or, like put that in there if that's the case. But if it's not the case, if they're growing, turning brown and then stop growing, that is usually blotch. That is either a dirty humidifier, dirty air, or could be flies, or even substrate that you haven't cooked long enough. There's a lot of vectors for bacterial blotch that are there. Flies are one of the big ones. That's why you don't want like standing water in your room. That's why we use the House of Hydro foggers instead of like the misting foggers, because they actually put a fog out that leaves. They don't leave the floors really wet for flies to breed in. Let's see. If you've been cleaning your humidifier, you're cleaning your grow room, but you're getting clean spawn. So if you're getting clean spawn, it shouldn't be your liquid culture. It shouldn't be your spawn. If your blocks are growing in and you're not getting heavy contamination on your blocks, then it shouldn't be your spawn or your substrate. If your blocks are growing in well, and it's only after you've opened the bag and initiated it to fruit, that's when I would start looking at your floors, look at flies, and look at humidifier. And the best way to do that is, I've got a video on how we clean our humidifier, but basically we empty it out, break it down, bleach everything, rinse it out, let it dry as much as possible, put it back together by the end of the day. So, hey, Christopher Williams, thank you so much for the super chat and the fist bump. Oh, sorry. Here, I'll do it with the tattoo. There you go. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I don't know, like, I didn't get a notification on that. Did you see one pop up?
Nope.
Okay. Sorry, Chris. I would have said that earlier if I had seen it. Let's see. Hi, sirs. Good day. I just want to ask, what is the best method for storing genetic, like, Volvaria mushrooms? Okay, so the Volvaria is the patty straw. That one you cannot refrigerate. So here's what I would do. I've never attempted this, so do not take this as gospel. Don't sue me because I ruined your crop. Grow it in liquid culture, suck it up into a syringe, store the syringe at room temperature, and have some sitting out available and test it at like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and then 12 months. And so, do a few syringes of it or something. But that's the only way I can think of to do it, because it would be slow, because it's not going to be having a lot of air exchange, and you won't be able to let it get cold, so you'll want to keep it, at room temperature. So that's the only thing I can think of to do. That is a questionable one to work with, though, because that's one of the few mushrooms one of the few gourmet ones you cannot absolutely have get chili at all. Cordyceps grows well on rice, but I haven't tried to fruit it yet. Yeah, I've seen that. From what I understand, if you want to get to grow on rice, you want to add a little bit of soy, some protein to it, to get it to fruit well. But Cordyceps naturally grows on bugs, so I would just rather grow it on bugs, which is why I picked the superworms, and then we're going to try a few other insects to see what we can get them to grow on. Hypnotoad, any tips for Hericiums? My LC all grow mostly at the same rate except for Hericium strains. I can't tell if the mycelium is just more dense or if they need something specific to expand quicker. It's a weird one. It will never look full until you stir it, because it either always floats to the top or sinks to the bottom, and that's just the way. That's just the experience I've had with Hericium. It doesn't create a good, nice cloud like oyster mushroom mycelium does. Hericiums are kind of jerks to the grower. So, but yeah, that's usually what if you've inoculated your liquid culture, like you got a quart jar. Let's say even if you inoculate it with a biopsy from like a agar plate, usually that mycelium in there, like you can stir it up, stir it every day, and then in about 10 days it should be ready to use, even if it looks a little thin. Some of my mushrooms are getting slightly mushy in the grow tent. Do you know what might be causing this? Bacterial blotch, probably. Or your mushrooms go to... Oh, it's Justin, so probably not too old. Blotch is the only thing I can think of, man. Blotch will make them disintegrate into a liquid. Unless you're talking Hericiums, if it's a black liquid, I don't know. Everyone has seen this, it seems like. There's a contaminant that runs through Hericium that is a black sludge in the bag and makes the mushroom turn to mush. Nobody seems to know what it is that I've run into.
Just get rid of it.
Yeah,
it'll
spread
run through your grow room.
The worst part's the drip. If it starts on like a bag on the top shelf, it'll drip through all the others and spread. So like Ben said, yeah, get rid of it fast. Excuse me. If I remember correctly, ! You have a project of using mobile carts to move bags from the inoculation room to the fruiting room. How is that project going?
They're talking about growing on the shelves?
Maybe. If you're talking about the growing on the rolling shelves,
we don't have that room ready yet, so
yeah,
it's not going yet.
We got to hang plastic, ventilation, humidification,
yep.
And then I think that whole thing's done. Oh, lights. We got to do lights too.
Yeah.
So
we got the lights here. We got ventilation. Do you have the humidifier in yet?
No, it's not in yet, but it's ordered.
Okay. Yeah. So
but what we'll do is we'll probably just pull the other 12 head out of that one, move it over.
Okay, that's fine.
And then we'll have the backup, so when the other one arrives, we'll have 2 backups.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So anyway, we should be able to have that going a couple weeks.
Yep.
Let you know. Or, at some point, I'm sure there'll be an update.
We'll definitely be doing a video on it, I'm sure. Notorious Nugs. Can you grow portobellos indoors? I love them, but don't ever see people growing them. Yeah, absolutely. There are people that grow them in their basement. Back in the day, it was actually really common in English households for people to grow They have like a little portobello box in like their what do you call it, underground, where you store your food? Cellar.
Root cellar.
Root cellar. Yeah, they used to have portobello beds in their root cellars and stuff. So it's done. You can just order portobello spawn from one of the major companies, and there are if Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms by Paul Stamets, he goes over portobello production pretty heavily.
Yeah, I want to grow some portobellos.
Yeah, I do too.
Cremini, whatever.
I want to grow them just because I like them. I like the way they taste. So, I might sell them too, because I wonder what a brand new, fresh picked, delivered next day or same day portobello's like.
But yeah, that's something I discussed in Mycological Warfare Part 2. Is that those longer term mushrooms will still benefit from the faster turnaround of a tier 1 farm. So
yeah. Which
I'll be back.
Yeah, man. Let's see. I've heard about boosters. What is the boosters they use for? If you mean like supplements, I don't know what they use for the Volvaria. It's they use rice stalks, I think, typically, and then some sort of manure like compost. But I'm not entirely sure. You are what you eat says, FYI, Alex from Mushroom Revivalist said they don't grow cordyceps on insects because the FDA does not allow insects used in nutritional supplements. That is not true. I have heard that. I've heard Alex say that. Is true, not true. So the FDA does not allow food contaminants, like insect legs and insect parts, which are labeled as a contaminant, in food products. However, it says nothing about using them as a substrate. So I'm not planning on having insects used in my cordyceps. Insects in my cordyceps, because I'll be harvesting the mushrooms away from the insects. And I'm not planning on doing mycelial supplements. I'm literally just going to sell the dried mushroom. They can't say that you can't have insects where you're growing your food, in that mushrooms are treated like produce. Cordyceps are a mushroom. I'm not selling them as a mushroom supplement. I am selling them as a produce, product. I'm not going to be shipping them across the country. I will be selling them directly to restaurants for them to make teas and soup stocks with, and to people at farmers markets who want to add them to make teas and coffees and all that kind of stuff. So basically what I'm telling you is I'm sidestepping the regulation because my sales system is already built to sidestep that regulation. But it's not even a strong regulation in this, because I'm not selling it as a supplement. I am just selling it as produce. So that is why I am able to use insects and still sell cordyceps. But also, he's not even. You wouldn't be using the insect in the nutritional supplement. Also, there are insect farms that make cricket powder as a nutritional supplement. So you can use insects. Now you have to be licensed for that, but there are reasons why people are doing the vegetarian, but it's not very good reasons in my opinion. Wow, the chat really got away from me. Oh my, Samantha! Wow, you are going crazy.
You're so slow.
I'm so slow.
Yeah.
You're so slow.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Oh, hey.
Hypnotone. What about M&M shell coatings? I'm pretty sure that's made of bugs. I think the dye in some of those is, yeah. Hey guys.
Everything's made of bugs.
Huh?
I said everything's made of bugs.
Dude, everything's made of bugs. Like, yeah, don't get squeamish. Food is food. Hey guys, thanks for all the really helpful content. We are curious about the use of soy hulls in sub, and if that makes your fruits contain soy elements, or do they not work that way? No, mushrooms break stuff down on the molecular level, so I'm sure they can uptake certain things like heavy metals. They do hyperaccumulate heavy metals into their fruit body, so you don't want to use anything that's got a heavy metal anything in your substrate. But as far as like soy and things like that, like people are worried about gluten. For people who have whatever that disease is called, celiac disease. Mushrooms, just because you grow them on wheat, does not mean that they uptake wheat. They don't. Now there might be wheat, like gluten contamination of
on the substrate when you pick it. Then,
right.
Yeah, and especially if you pick it and it gets put with other in the box, then sure.
Right.
Then there's a risk there.
There is a risk there. But as far as like what they uptake, no. Mushrooms, like you can grow mushrooms on, like oyster mushrooms break down oil on the molecular level. As far as we know, as long as there's no heavy metals in that oil, those mushrooms are actually safe to eat. I wouldn't suggest it, just because we've not really done good testing, but absolutely people do it. So, I don't think there'll be any soy elements in there. Seth Fisher's on. Woot! What's up, Seth? We are trying to avoid soy in our diets, but want to be able to use Master's Mix in our bags. Yeah, absolutely, Devin. I think that'll work just fine for you. Also, we are working on different supplements. So we're using Timothy grass, alfalfa, Bermuda grass, sunflower seeds, cracked corn, beet pulp. Yeah, there we go. That was new. There was one I was forgetting.
Yeah.
And there's even more that we're going to try. But we are actively looking for a substitute for the soybean hulls.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about mushrooms is they'll eat whatever you give them.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing about soy is that it's just so well attuned to what they want. Those oyster mushrooms just love it. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff that it will eat up just fine. And so the issue is, like, how easy is it to use?
Right. And for us, we chose all those things I just listed off. We chose those because you could find those in pelletized form.
Yep.
And the reason why is because we don't want to change up infrastructure. So you want to get your infrastructure built. So if you got a Thor bagger, you don't want to have to change substrates just because you can't find soy. So what you want is beet pulp pellets or Timothy grass or alfalfa pellets or something that will take its place that you can run through your bagger or your current infrastructure.
There's a couple of things that you need to take into account. One is what's the source on, like if you're looking at alfalfa or the Timothy, because one of the problems with field grasses is that they have to have a certain moisture content when they're baled, and if the moisture is too low, then it's not desirable. So they tend to bale it with a higher moisture content and then hit it with fungicides to keep molds from growing. So that will be devastating to your farm. So that's one of those positions where you can be growing just fine on alfalfa for months out of the year, and then without recognizing any difference, your entire crop will just fail. And that's what happens when you try to grow fungus on a fungicide.
Also, interestingly enough, we pasteurized all of these different supplements that we've trialed out, and
Sunflower seeds, yes.
Sunflower seeds, they're germinating. And I don't know how, because they went under longer than a 24-hour cook. And nothing, like, there's no visible contamination other than the sunflower seed sprouts.
Right, so we have sunflower sprouts inside the bags.
Right.
After they were cooked for, how long was that?
It was almost a 30-hour run.
Okay.
So, or no, it would have been more than that. It would have been another 12 hours. So it would have been about a 36-hour run.
Okay.
So, 36 hours going at 9 kilowatts, and they still didn't die. I don't know what in the world is up with the sunflower seeds.
No, we didn't probe any of those bags, but we don't have runaway contamination on everything else that went through that. So
Close that door.
So we know that it got cooked well enough that everything else is good. But yeah, black oil sunflower seeds apparently will survive pasteurization.
Which is insane to me.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, what's up, Chip? Great answers on a vague apologies question about business. Thank you. You're welcome, Christopher. I wasn't trying to bust your chops. Ben was.
Oh, wait, sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
He said, great answers on a vague apologies question about business. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sure. You're welcome.
Let's see. I've seen that you use atmospheric steam sterilization. Do you do that with grain spawn? What are the rates of contamination? We do not do it with grain spawn. We use our autoclaves. We have two technically three, but two are wired up right now. All-American autoclaves. And we have, so I can do like 12 bags at a time of the grain spawn. As far as super pasteurizing them in the atmospheric sterilizer, we did that once.
Yeah,
or
we
a
did
few
it for a
times,
while,
but
and it was okay.
It worked really well until it didn't work at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would be okay with expanding spawn that way and just using it as G4 or however the G's are called.
Well, so what I've been thinking about doing is bringing it back for our own op, and so basically it would be like we can cook 15 bags, 20 bags just in the top row there. And then
everything should be kept sterile except that last generation directly before it goes to sub.
Right.
And then you can cook it. Just because, things don't die properly. Endospores will make it through, and they'll have enough time that if you go through multiple generations, then it's going to give you a really bad day.
Yeah, super pasteurization does not do a good job against the endospores. So maybe that's the secret sunflower seed tech.
Maybe.
Why do we use only pressure cooking spawn and not cook on a steamer unit? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we just answered. So
that.
Yep.
Yes.
Grain are too nutritious; they need to be sterile. That is true. I don't know how to say your name, Geifer, but they right. But they I think they can be pasteurized, but like he said, it's just like a single generation is what you would want to do. Do you or have you tried sterilizing grain in your steam steril? Okay, well, we got that's a lot.
That's a big question, isn't it?
It is.
Anyway, answer to this: sure, go for it. Consider it to be contaminated.
Yes.
You can do a 1 through, go to sub. Never try to recover that and go back to spawn or anything higher up the chain. It is dead at that point and can only be used for spawning substrate.
Right.
That would be my recommendation.
Outdoor Explorer. I have not yet. Can white oyster mushrooms yield perfectly on just hardwood sawdust substrate? And is a laminar flow hood compulsory when adding the spawn to the substrate? Thank you. So, if you're not using supplementation, you can probably get away without a flow hood. But no, your yields are not going to be they will produce, but your yields are not going to be anywhere near as good.
Yeah, so I've seen people just go boiling water straight to pure wood chips or sawdust pellets, and then spawn once it cools. And they had success that way. But as soon as you supplement it, then you start having contamination will just run through the bag before the mushrooms have enough time.
Yep.
But if you don't supplement, then you're going to have to wait so long. Like that infrastructure is worth it if you're going to be a commercial op. If you're just a small, like if you're just growing for yourself, then yeah, that'd be fine. Just spawn it and wait. And then you don't have to worry about the flow hood. But if you're going to be growing a commercial op, it doesn't make sense to try to get away from that expense.
Yeah, I mean the flow hood's it's expensive. Like
yeah.
So don't, but it's not that expensive. Not for what it does. So to me, it's absolutely worth it.
And is it compulsory? Well, no. There's alternatives. I mean, you can get just a small like room air purifier and just work very locally in that area. Andrew's used a still air box very early on. Like there's low tech methods for all that.
Yep.
But if you're going to be doing it at any kind of scale, then you're going to want to have a flow hood.
Now, I will say that I've got a couple videos coming out over the next 2 weeks where I very much discuss a tech where you don't need a flow hood. So that's coming out soon. But
look at that teaser.
But
I wonder what this is.
Yeah, I'm teasing, but I'm not telling. Skill says, no, they're growing out full brown. They don't stop. Everything's clean. No flies. I don't believe it's blotch. I thought maybe I'll send a variation of the king oyster. It looks like your king blue oyster, just brown instead.
I've seen that where
That's
things
what I was
don't
supposed to
develop the same color.
Sometimes, but I've never seen it like the entire cluster. It's just like normally.
So you're getting this continually, like you've had multiple flushes.
Yeah, if you're getting multiple flushes of this and they're all turning brown, send me some pictures at mossycreekmushrooms@gmail.com, please.
And a tissue sample.
And a tissue sample, because that might be really cool.
The brown king.
The brown, the king brown.
Chocolate king.
Chocolate king sounds better.
Mm-hmm.
King brown sounds like a bad toilet ride. Would you say, Samantha?
I was about to say that.
It's a growth substrate.
It's a growth substrate.
For Stropharia.
I want to thank you for your videos. Please put out some videos on your breeding, aka genetics, and how you choose your clones.
Gonna.
I have already started videoing that very much. I haven't edited it yet. I think, don't hold me to this, but I think that the first in the series, the breeding mushroom series, will come out in 3 weeks. That is my guess. Sir, can you give me exact formula and liquid culture? Oh no, the chat jumped. Hold on. Sir, can you give me exact formula and liquid culture, please, with 200 milliliters of water? I cannot. I can give you a 500 milliliter one, and then let you, and then you can do the math. Yeah. So 500 milliliters water, 20 grams of liquid culture premix. I have a video on how to make liquid culture premix. It could be corn dextrose or malt extract, or 1 part malt extract, 5 parts corn dextrose. But you put those two ingredients together, 500 milliliters of water, 20 grams of your liquid culture premix, and then you pressure cook it for at 15 psi for 45 minutes. What's up, Dustin? After you sterilize in cattle trough, how can you take them to the lab without contamination? We just put them on a shelf and walk them.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about the movement.
Yep.
Like, I've seen some people complain about how the vapor seal, because that's what happens. The steam, I think technically it's a weak hydrogen bond that it makes. We just call it a vapor seal. But anyway, it seals the plastic together well enough, and then we just set them in the room with the flow hood to where the air is fairly clear, or fairly clean.
Yep.
And just let them cool down there in the open. We've been doing that for 3 years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years.
4 years.
It's been 4 years, yeah.
It's been 4 years. And haven't had a problem. We've always cooked outside, unloaded it outside, and then brought it into the clean room to cool. So It works for us. If it doesn't work for you, then I'm sorry, it doesn't work for you. I don't really know what to tell you on that, other than I've seen some discussion about having your pasteurization trough on wheels, or have it set up to where you can bring the whole thing into the lab for while you're cooling down, so that you never have to open it in the general atmosphere. But my general recommendation is try it on the small scale first if you don't have the equipment ready yet, and see if it works for you. And if it does, then great. You don't have to worry about getting anything else.
Yep.
If it doesn't, then figure out how to minimize that vector.
Indeed. Hi from Idaho. Converted an old train car into a grow room.
Awesome.
I know, right? Doing sample bags of your cultures with good luck. The Black Pearl King had a funky gill-like structure on top. Is that normal? That strain mutates...
It's weird. That is a weird one.
That is a weird one. That's...
When you grow it right, it is so pretty.
Yes, but it is so easy.
But it's just like, you know what? Screw you. I feel like looking like a complete and terrifying mutant today, and that's just what it does.
Yeah, I've got pictures where it grew normally,
and then it had mushrooms going up mushrooms.
Well, yeah, it was like it grew a mushroom off the cap, and then a mushroom on top of that one, and it was like a mushroom growing on a mushroom growing on a mushroom. And then I've had it where it grows the gill structure like normal on bottom. And then the entire cap surface is like gills every which way.
Yeah.
So
it's a weird one.
It is the most. That further tells me that what I think that it's a hybrid. That it is a true hybrid. When people, I used to think it was just a cross.
I don't even think it's a hybrid. I think that it is Frankenstein's monster.
Frankenstein's monster. Somebody just brought something to life.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a true hybrid instead of just a. Cross. Like I originally thought it was just a cross, but after growing it for a while and trialing it out, trying to breed it, I cannot grow a mushroom off the spore babies at all. So
you think it's a mule?
I think it's a mule. I think it's a sterile mule.
So even trying to get an isolate, you've not gotten anything.
I have not gotten a single thing. I've gotten spores. I've gotten good mycelial growth, with none of them ever producing a single mushroom.
Okay.
So it makes me wonder if it's truly a hybrid and cannot, like it'll produce the sexual structure just like a hybrid can, but it cannot pass on offspring.
Interesting.
Yeah. Aside from oyster mushrooms, what do you recommend for beginners to grow? Do you have any experience with piapinos? Boy, do I. I love piapinos. That's one of my favorites to eat and grow. But I would not consider that one a beginner mushroom.
Yeah, it's a longer growth, and so it is more subject to contamination that grows along the way.
Yep.
Oysters are great. Hericium is great.
Yep. Hericiums are the next step I would consider.
Don't touch shiitake. Everybody freaking loves shiitake, and it is a beautiful, wonderful, tasty mushroom.
But if you're small scale, you don't need to be.
Yeah, if you hate your life and
want to work way harder than you have to,
right, and you're masochistic or just have an ethic that says,
well, unless he's just talking out for fun,
good.
Like maybe he just wants to grow shiitake for fun, like he's a hobbyist or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. If
you're doing
suffering is your gig,
if suffering is your gig,
then grow you some shiitake.
Shiitake are far messier in the grow room. They leak like a sieve. They are way it's not that difficult to pick them, but the value extraction, it's not like just going up to an oyster block or Hericium block and just pulling the value off. It is picking or cutting. And then you rarely get good second flushes. They're just more labor intensive all around. So really, I would suggest if you haven't done Hericiums yet, do those. If you have done Hericiums, then yeah, I'd go to like chestnuts or black poplars. With black poplars being my favorite, but chestnuts being easier to grow. So... I bear witness to it, huh? Did you notice how you bear witness? You don't bear witness, as in the animal. I love it.
Oh man, use that typo.
Well, I missed that one. I figured she was just talking for you.
Autocorrect
Probably.
is awesome.
I'm the big bear.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, did you get your bike back from the bike shop yet? Why not? I never took it. Actually, they were full and full and full. They're probably not full now, so I am planning on making an appointment and taking my bike up there. But I just went on that ankle injury we were talking about earlier. Samantha and I just went on the first long walk I've gone on in a long time. I mean, it wasn't that long, but it was the first real loop I had done. Well, I think maybe you and I had done one as well since I've gotten hurt. But
The 3 mile?
yeah, the 3 mile loop.
I think we've done one or two.
So it's not. I've not done it a lot. I've only done it maybe 2 times with Ben and 1 time with Samantha. So my ankle has still not been it started hurting probably about the last half mile or so. But I think that the bikes it's going to be a lot easier. So a lot less stress on the foot. I do also want to get a big dummy, but that's going to be a while.
That's a type of bike, just for those
Yeah.
who don't know.
It is a type of bike. It's called the Surly Big Dummy. It's a cargo bike. But I'd like to have that so I can carry my camera bag with me, and, I go right by Walmart on my way home so I can bike to Walmart and then go grocery shopping and pick stuff up, that kind of stuff. Awesome insight into the wine caps, Andrew. Thanks. I will have to get a hold of some spawn for spring. Not sure why I was overthinking it so much. Dude, that's everybody. Everybody overthinks it when they get into it. It's easy to do.
Well, it's not even overthinking it. It's you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So,
Okay, that's a good point.
yeah.
Hello again from sunny Southwest Florida. Well, hello, Southwest Florida.
Hey, it's sunny today.
It is sunny here in
Here.
East Tennessee today, yeah.
Like 70 degrees outside.
Dude, when we went on our walk, I was wearing sandals and a t-shirt.
Yep.
So,
Sorry for talking about the weather. I know it's boring. Sorry.
right. Limited here on access to soy because I'm up far north in Canada, and I don't want to order it in. What are your thoughts on growing shiitake on straw? Well, straw...
Yeah, try that.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. So, straw is not going to replace soy.
Field and Forest had a straw shiitake, didn't they?
Was it Field and Forest?
I can't remember for sure. I'm not the grower.
Or was it
remember?
Aloha? Yeah, that's right.
I just make things up so that I look like I know
Shiitake 75. That was the straw shiitake.
something. Was that it?
That was it. So if you search Shiitake 75, you might find the straw shiitake somewhere. I haven't seen it in years. It became a
nobody
thing.
grows on straw anymore. That was the big
Right.
thing, is everybody was growing oysters on straw, and so everyone wanted to have a shiitake that would grow on what they're already growing on.
So I'm actually going to try shiitake on the goat mix.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, just to see what happens.
Try it on all kinds of stuff. See what
Exactly.
shiitake likes. We just know that shiitake doesn't much care for soy.
Yeah.
Or at
So
least most shiitake doesn't care for soy.
what was it Eric Lohman said on the other podcast? Last week it was it 3790 that did okay with soy?
No, I thought he was saying
It was the Chinese strain. Okay, the Chinese strain's the one that did okay.
the Chinese strain. I mean, they're all out of China.
I know. I don't. Everyone calls it the Chinese
It's
strain.
the newest strain out of China.
It's the newest strain out of China.
Who knows what its actual designation is? Just
Right.
It is what it is.
As far as that goes, you can grow oysters on the straw all day long. If you're looking for a replacement of soy, most people that I've heard of use alfalfa.
But again,
It's
watch out for fungicides.
watch out for fungicides, and you got to back it down. You don't want to do a 50-50 mix, and I don't remember
I think most people are saying they get success at 80-20
80-20. Okay.
on alfalfa. We still don't know on Timothy. We just tried a 50-50 as far as volume goes. Don't know what the actual weight ended up being. Did you
Right.
check?
No.
Yeah, no idea. So anyway, we fed a bunch of stuff just through Thor to see how it goes, and we'll see.
Yep.
We
We will absolutely release the results on those.
yeah.
So, trust me, if I can find a replacement for soy, everyone's going to know it.
Mm,
Because that way you guys will stop buying my soy, and I'll stop having shortages.
right.
Yeah.
And then everyone will have shortages of Timothy grass and alfalfa.
Yeah, there you go. If a syringe freezes, does it kill the spores? That's going to depend on the spores. If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, like an actual spore syringe that you bought because that was the only way to get what you wanted, Yeah, it'll probably kill them. I mean, you can still throw them to agar and try them. Thanks for all the great info. We at Cetus are looking forward to introducing more Mossy Creek spawn into our production. Yeah, Chip, I'm happy to do it. Saw your post today. Looks good. Let's see. Stainless is not the same today as it was 10 years ago. I believe it, man. I believe it. It seems like I've noticed a decrease in quality lately. Greetings from Poland. I sincerely admire you for your passion. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Flows $600 or less if you can DIY. Yeah, I mean, if you can DIY it, they can be pretty cheap. I mean, we built ours and it still cost us $1,000, but we built a pretty decent one. Hope you're doing well, guys. I bought a product that claims to be a bacteria that can boost yields by 30 to 50%. I'm testing to see whether any of the claims are legit. Would you want to try some if I sent? I mean, I would try it, but I think I remember seeing that guy's post and talking to him, and he was very unwilling to share the actual benefit of and what everything was. But yeah, I mean, I would try some for sure. I'd plate it out and see how it goes. Andrew Paulson says, my Pathfinders are falling off the wire shelf, so going to go with PVC. Really? What is the center line dimensions of your PVC front to back, top to bottom of your setup? That is a Ben question, and he just walked out. So when he comes back, Andrew, I'll try to come back up there to you. Maybe Samantha will help me remember.
Somewhere out.
I know. Somebody's wanting to know about the PVC shelves, so when Ben comes back, I need to...
How deep they are?
Center line dimensions. Front to back, top to bottom. So I've been having the issue of Sharpie rubbing off my ketchup agar cups and bags when I spray them with ISO. Recommendations on a different marker that isn't alcohol-based or way to stop it. So there's a Sharpie. Samantha just had one, and I think she took it with her. The Sharpie Write on Anythings, like they're contractor Sharpies. They're big, thick, square. They hold up a lot better. That's what we use around here.
Somebody talking about the shelves?
Yes. This guy says that his Pathfinders are falling off the wire shelf, so he's going to go with PVC. What is the center line dimensions of PVC front to back, top to bottom?
Centerline dimensions?
I guess. I don't know what that means.
Okay. So I just have a 2x4 going down the bottom at just high enough to where it's not in the way of the humidifier, which is what it ended up being, like 18 inches? Can't remember. Anyway, I have it set up on its side, and that space is between the upright 2x4s on either side. And then right in the middle of those upright 2x4s, I have a 1-inch hole. One and something. I forgot how big the hole is. It's in the blog post about the grow room that you can find on muscreekmushrooms.com on the blog.
There you go. Yep.
But yeah, I have a full write-up of... You can also find it on YouTube if you search for shelving on Moss Creek Mushrooms YouTube. Then there's a link back to the blog post, and it has everything pretty well broken down. Now, one thing about that is this last grow room, I decided that 12 inches was too tall, and so we cut it down to 10 inches per shelf, and we were able to get one more shelf in the same space. And I don't think we've had any issue as far as vertical height goes.
No.
Okay, so I actually really like the 10-inch setup just because it allows you a little bit more dense stocking rate. So, yes, hopefully that answers your question.
I like it. If you started a business now, knowing what you know currently, what would be your choice of substrate, and would you pasteurize or sterilize? At what point do you switch from still air box to flow hood? So, I would immediately get a flow hood if I could afford it. I would immediately go to Master's Mix, and I would do my atmospheric super pasteurization, also known as the atmospheric sterilizer.
Yeah.
I would have the setup I've got now.
Yeah, I mean it's a fairly inexpensive setup, but it's
Very cost effective.
yeah.
Way like that. Our steam sterilizer paid for itself the first time it ran, and then paid for the next ones.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then the flow hood will practically pay for itself in the first 2 or 3 runs, just in like how fast you can move. I mean, yeah, that's just a very inaccurate guess.
Right.
But it will make your life. So I mean, like I've had the HEPA filter that's in the production lab now. I've had that for like 6 years.
Yeah.
So that thing is running strong.
Yeah, clean your pre-filter. Not clean. Replace your pre-filters regularly, so that just take care of your equipment.
Yep.
And it will be nice to you. But yeah, so buy the flow hood. The trough is great. It's cheap. We just have a 2x4 ladder. I've got 2 long 2x4s running down the length.
The bottom is completely
slats.
rusted out. If you pick up our steamer, the floor just stays. It is literally just 2 shells. So what we did was that 2x4 ladder gets picked up, plastic liner underneath it, gets put down, blocks are put in there, and we made basically a plastic shell within the metal shell that we already have.
Yep. And it works
So-
well enough. I mean, the big thing is that you just got to hold the steam well enough to where it will get up to temperature.
Yep.
But then, yeah, as far as the boiler goes, I can't really recommend the Steamos sauna steamers anymore. They've actively been putting in measures to stop you from being able to modify it. Like the last revision I saw, you'd actually have to solder on the board in order to override the 15-minute cutoff.
Yeah, it's like every 15 minutes or something. Oh no, I think there was 1 hour timer.
Okay.
So, but it was like every hour.
But yeah, so you have to just override the thing, and so I think that they're catching on that people are using it for something other than their use case, and they're actively curtailing that. So everyone's asking me about the 55-gallon drum boilers. I've never really been comfortable showing people how to do it, but luckily, Cactus Hat Mushrooms, he's got a video where he assumes all liability for you blowing yourself up or killing your spouse. So
Yeah, so there you go. If you guys want to learn how to build a boiler,
watch Joe's video, and I'm sure he'll be happy for me.
Yep. Joe Iovino of Cactus Hat Mushrooms, and he has a YouTube channel, and it is a good channel.
Yeah.
He also has a review of Thor, his bagger that he picked up.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very good and honest.
Yeah, he shows pros and cons.
Pros and cons both. Let's see. Cetus Mushroom says, Andrew, do you all have any NNG blocks ready to go? If not, when do you think you'll have some ready? I'd like to keep some in our library in case you're into troubles again with it. I have liquid culture of it. I don't have any spawn or blocks ready to go. And usually as we make spawn for it, it immediately goes to our own production. So, I mean, if one was ordered through the website, I would just make up the spawn, the very next day, the very next grain spawn day from that order. So we could have it very quickly, but I mean, you're still talking about a 2 to 3 week turnaround.
Well, maybe longer if we're back ordered.
Right. Yeah. If we get back ordered, it could be even longer. To the one with the agar for 200 milliliters, 200 milliliters water, 8 grams agar, 8 grams LC premix. Well, I think he was asking about liquid culture there, Rocket. But if he was asking about agar, I apologize because I definitely didn't say any agar in that recipe.
Definitely answered a different question.
Right. I'm pressure canning mushroom liquid nutrient as you all speak. Great show. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're getting to cook and kill some time at the same time. What's up, Arizona? Your recipe works great with a constant slow. Oh my gosh, chat. I really don't like that it does that.
Yep, it's frustrating.
Your recipe works great with a constant slow mix. Yeah, I love it. If I can get it to just constantly stir slowly, that's my favorite. But I have to basically just set them down and rip them through because I've got 116 quart jars of liquid culture right now, and only 7 stir plates. So I do need to get more at some point. Some more liquid culture content coming soon. Greets from Germany, Cologne. There will probably be some liquid culture at some point. I mean, I pretty much covered the basics on the liquid culture. So right now I'm rolling into how to breed oyster mushrooms. So
well, you have some fun things with liquid culture.
Oh, so that's true. That's right. Yeah, in about 2 weeks, maybe as early as next week, I'll have one announcement of liquid culture, one liquid culture video that will be a really good one, I think. So, by the way, nice hair, buddy.
Definitely talking about me, because not you.
No, me, no. I don't know.
Nice hair. Thanks. You have nice hair too.
You don't even know.
I know.
Oh, fair enough. Hey, Mossy's been using your LC recipe and have noticed a big difference.
Cool.
Good. Heck yeah. Samantha, read the cheese marker. Yeah, that's the marker. It smells like blue cheese to me. Do you have one over there? One of the blue cheese markers?
Fatty fat
Oh.
markers.
Well, you don't have to worry about it. It's okay.
No,
She's already gone. Yeah, but the weather here in PA is great for mushroom cultivation. Still got snow and some more on the way. That is great. Back whenever the op was in the house, there was nothing like getting snowed in. It didn't change work, and it
Right, everything
was just chill.
carry on.
So they are Sharpie Pros. That's what they're called. So the person asking about the markers, they've got 3 different sizes. It marks on wet and oily surfaces, metal, wood, PVC, and concrete. And here you go. Thank you, Samantha. Those things really hold up way better to the alcohol compared to regular Sharpies. Is there a Chinese company you can recommend for buying plate spawn mycelium? No, I don't have any experience with Chinese companies. And because I'm in the United States, I try to stay away from them. Not out of spite or anything, or China hate or anything. Just
There's no point in importing anything foreign if we can just get it local.
Exactly. You can get plates from Fisher Scientific as little as $100 for 500 plates. You can get Cell Treat. You can get, oh my gosh, there's a million petri dish suppliers. As far as spawn and mycelium, again, I don't know anybody in China. I am sure that if you're in China and need Chinese sources, you can use whatever search company they have. I assume they have Google.
Baidu, I think. Is
Baidu?
the big one
Okay. So,
I have no idea if that's actually it. That's just a word that came to my mind.
Yeah, you can use that and just search for it. And I'm sure there'll be a million. The industry there is so much more mature than it is here for mushrooms. Lol, woo-ha shiitake. I don't get it.
Sure.
What's up with the watercolor oysters? They are very pretty, and they have a very different pattern on them.
Yeah, it's just... So Andrew bred...
Yeah.
What were the parents of that and the Super Scallop?
Elm A and... so I thought Super Scallop and Watercolor were sister strains. They're not.
Okay. Do they share a...
They share one parent.
So they're, potentially.
Well, there is one parent in the mix. We don't know for
Right.
sure that took. So, but Super Scallop came from
the parental slot is shared.
Right, parental slot. There we go. That's a good one to say. Super Scallop is Lambert's 123 crossed with the North Spore Snow.
Okay.
Watercolor Oyster was Lambert's 123 crossed with Elm A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so remarkably, both of those. So Lambert's 123 was the common one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right.
But they ended up with the scalloped edges, and then the one that kept the blue coloration is the watercolor, and it has
kind of makes the mushroom look like they have teeth.
Yeah, it's a cool looking oyster. I haven't personally tasted it. Have you?
Mm-hmm.
You cooked it up. It just tastes like blue.
It's basically a blue oyster.
Okay. Yeah. So, how's the weight? Did you do the actual?
Oh, the
full
weight was
throttle?
good. Yeah, like I
Comparable to 1, 2, 3.
it was comparable to 1, 2, 3.
All right. So basically, Lambert's
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. That just looks interesting.
Yep.
And that's the brief. Oh man, look at Andrew. He's showing off his paperwork.
I don't even know if we have the watercolor. Here it is. So it was a very small test, but yeah, I mean, we routinely had mushrooms 2.5 pounds, 2.95, 1.92, 1.99, 2.10. There were some that were picked early that are all sub 2 pounds, but those were early picks that he notated. So yeah, I mean, it's about a 2.5 pound on average first flush. So that puts it right in line with the Lambert's 1, 2, 3. It's just more interesting. Like as far as for me, I'm just finding interesting strains in the crosses and then offering them up to you guys. Like the value there is really it's aesthetics. So
have you done a strain spotlight on watercolor yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I've got.
So cool. You get an early edition on that.
Yeah, there you go.
Is it up for sale?
Yeah, it's up for sale now on the website.
Okay.
I haven't added the numbers to it yet,
Gotcha.
but in fact, I need to go through and all of this entire stack is different strains that need to have the numbers added to them on the website.
Anyway, that's the fun thing about the breeding program is that we're looking for just interesting things. And I did a blog post recently on the purple oyster and
I dream of purple oysters.
mushrooms.
But purple mushrooms, that's it.
And that was a tragedy. That was one of the first 6 crosses that went in the grow room.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the very first.
Yep.
But yeah, Andrew got a purple oyster, and it blew my frickin' mind, and then it got picked and sold.
Yeah,
and
well,
didn't get brought into culture.
Samantha even remembers taking it to the chef. It was Chef Preston at Rebel Kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Samantha said she remembers him commenting on like, "Wow, this is like a lavender color," and like, yeah, it was.
It's such a tragedy.
It is. I really messed up when I didn't clone it, but
anyway,
try it again.
Yeah,
just try again.
The reality of it is that that's the breeding program. So, when we put the breeder bags in the grow room, we look for desirable traits. You can't test for taste off of those because we don't cook them up. But you can get an idea of interesting phenotypes.
One, you get an idea for
expression.
textures too, just by feel.
Right, and you can get an idea of what the stem texture is, and that's something that we find really desirable is having a good stem.
Yep.
As far as usability, and then where there's some local competition, then it tends to just inherently prioritize those strains that are more aggressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the long and short of it is that we're looking for anything that is an early detection of a desirable trait, and then we collect those, and then catalog them and put them through a strain trial. If they end up being something that's worth keeping, then we keep it and continue to develop those traits, and if not, then it just goes in the churn.
Yeah. So the watercolor oyster to me was like, okay, when I saw it, I was like, this is perfect for farmers markets because this will give you a very different looking mushroom.
And it'd be fine for not farmers markets too. I mean, I'm sure restaurants would be happy to see it, but the difference is that it's all going to be cut up.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, you'll see a little bit of it, but it's not going to be enough to really make much of a difference in a restaurant.
So in my opinion, chefs will be happy to get it, but they'll be as happy to get it as they are a blue oyster.
Right. It'll just be the same.
But a farmer's market, if you're growing a blue oyster right next to the watercolor oyster, or you grew the blue oyster last week and now this week you came in with the watercolor,
then it will be fun variation.
Exactly. People will get to fill their baskets with all these colorful little additions.
Which is fun.
Oh yeah. Hey, do you guys weigh your water for agar? No, I don't. I just do 500 milliliters and 20 grams agar, 20 grams LC premix, and that's just my basic agar recipe there. And then I've got a bunch of variations based on other additives and things that you can do. So right now, my most common agar recipe is I call it the MMP Plus It's just Master's Mix Peptone Plus, and the plus is whenever I've got the double agar and the double sugar, like the 20 grams. So it's 500 milliliters water, 20 grams agar, 20 grams LC premix, 1 gram each of hardwood fuel pellets, soybean hull pellets, Peptone, and then colored, to match all the other plates of that recipe. So with a little bit of gel food coloring.
Right, because no professional lab tech would ever color their agar.
Somebody
and they
did
wouldn't
say
pronounce
that.
it agar either. They'd pronounce it some terrible thing like auger or agar.
I will never call it auger. I don't care how many people tell me it's technically auger. Well, screw you. And here in East Tennessee, it's agar.
Right.
It reminds me more of
You're an
mechanical
archer.
than the auger that
Right.
spins
Yeah.
and turns.
What did you say?
Said you're on our turf.
Right, yeah. Here
The good thing about being in the South is that we reserve the right to butcher anything.
Yep.
That includes any kind of scientific information. So that's fun because you ask me anything and I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll give you some information, but with the caveat of, I even mispronounced that.
Yes, I noticed.
But yeah, just recognize that I'm wrong about half of what I say, and it's just fun. So get used to it.
Yeah. Just like I pronounce it fungi, not fungi.
I pronounce it however I feel like at the time.
Well, that's fair too. Yeah, man. What is the exact guy I got it from, Lowell? That is the exact guy I got it from, Lowell. It was my first question as well, but kind of look like you mentioned with the wine caps earlier. Maybe it's a beneficial bacteria. Maybe it's just the snake oil. I'm not sure what we're talking about here.
No idea. Snake wool.
Oh, the bacteria. The bacteria. He's talking about like that's the exact guy. He got that bacteria that's supposed to boost yields. I think he stepped out.
Oh, okay.
So, hey, Christopher Williams, thanks again for another super chat. I still did not get
I didn't see any notification.
Yeah, I didn't get a notification. Sorry, man. I would have mentioned it earlier. Awesome. Thank you so much. You're very welcome, Strike Dead. Let's see. What are your thoughts on black agar? I don't like it. I don't like black agar. It is... So, it goes back to the coloring of the plates. A lot of people do it because the black looks cool. And I will say that the white mycelium on the black background is very photogenic. Like, it makes for really good pictures, that high contrast. But one of the things I like to do is look through my plates for contamination. So I like to look under the mycelium for bacteria, mold, anything that might be growing underneath it. That said, I color my plates with food coloring. This serves a couple of purposes. One, when it's just sitting on the shelf, non-inoculated, I've got multiple Ziploc bags of different recipes of agar at
So it's
any one
color-coded.
point. So it's color-coded. Yeah, I can just grab it and go. Now, as the mycelium grows across, it consumes the food coloring, makes it fade, but anywhere where there is bacteria growing underneath the mycelium, it eats that at a slower rate than it does, well, mainly because it doesn't go through the bacteria, it goes around it, right? So you can actually see bacterial colonies almost, like I'll see a spot, like a spot that's still got color on it. You look under the dish and like through the light there, or look through the dish with the light there, you can actually see little round bacterial colonies typically right there above the food coloring.
Yeah, so all you people who gave us crap about the food coloring, well, hooray for being ignorant and defending it as well as you have.
Well, that's fair. I think
There is a purpose to it.
There is, and I think the whole thing about professionals not using it really comes from bacterial culture. Like most people, like when you go to college, I did know fungal culture in college. Now, I mean, I wasn't in there super long. Probably would have done some molds if I'd done a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
But still, you're talking bacteria, yeast, things like that. Like mainly plating stuff out so that you can gram stain it for.
Right, and you're not going to be able to see things properly on the gram stain if it's already got a red background.
Exactly. So I think that's where most of that comes from. But for mycology work, like especially production mycology, to me it seems like it's at least a useful enough tool for me that I do it wrong.
Right.
So
well, and that's something that we've talked about. Is mushrooms is such a new field that everything's being borrowed from somewhere else, and in the adaptation, a lot of times people just want to take what was happening in the other field that we borrowed from and just say, okay, this is standard practice, this is how we should operate, and anything that violates those existing rules is bad form. And that's great as far as getting a good baseline, but then mushrooms are just different.
yeah.
And so we play with those things and see what are the edges, and is there value there? There's always value to be had, and you're never going to find it unless you explore the edges. And so we just play. I mean, we're not afraid to do things wrong. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, I've been told I've been doing it wrong since I did it, so.
Right. And that's fine. We just buy into it. We're doing it wrong. Get over it.
Exactly.
But it works. And the idea is to just do it less wrong, but you don't know what less wrong is until you explore the edges. And so we just keep pushing in those directions and see if there's any low-hanging fruit to be had there, and a lot of time there is. Because the rules just don't apply the same way.
It's very true. Yeah, I like first principles thinking just for that very thing. Dillinger says, I was a stainless steel plant manager, and 3 years ago when metal shortage hit, 3/16 SS quality dropped because they were trying to make products too fast to meet production. Someone earlier, it may have been him, said that, stainless isn't what it is. Like, stainless now is not what it was 10 years ago, even.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, as far as my explanation, as far as why it rusts, I'm sure somebody could call me out on it being nonsense. That's just my understanding. So
Yeah. Oh, good fun guy, if you're still on here, thank you. Yeah, just shoot me an email about that. Shiitake on logs is the way to go. I just harvested 40 logs for personal growth and consuming, of course. Yeah, I mean, I think, so when I've done shiitake, we're going to be doing them now because I actually have the space and the manpower to do them. But I'm still not going to make them, they're not even going to be a third of my production. We used to just do them on logs for our personal consumption.
yeah,
You just go out there, every time it rains, you go out there and you pick them and just dry them.
And there's this idea that shiitake on logs always tastes better, and that's generally true, except what I found is I don't think it's actually the logs. I think it's the outdoor grow.
Yeah.
Because we grew shiitake in bags and then threw them out and then got second flushes.
And they were
and the
just
second
as good.
flushes, yeah, they tasted like they were log-grown shiitake, but they were supplemented blocks with, what's it?
Wheat bran?
Wheat bran.
Yeah.
And those shiitake were every bit as good as any log-grown shiitake I've ever had, and I think the difference is just that it was subjected to the weather.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we've noticed that too with the oysters, though, that grow outdoors.
yeah,
You throw old blocks out there, those, like, Lambert's 1, 2, 3 grown outdoors in the middle of, like, a snowstorm, like, they come out that, like, the most, almost so blue they're almost black.
yeah, the onyx colored mushrooms.
Yeah, those are
beautiful.
Oh, and so, like, meaty.
But outdoor grows are also difficult to maintain cleanliness
yeah.
and consistency, and so for a commercial grower, I wouldn't recommend it.
I read the same thing. Personal consumption.
Yeah.
Dune, what's up, man? He says, hi, late getting here. Just jumping in real quick to stay relevant, lol. Maybe we'll meet up for the Dune movie down the road. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm down for it. Yeah. I cannot wait till it comes out. I really want to watch it. That's one of the few times I've been excited about a movie coming out. You need a trike, bro. I don't know. Like a motorcycle trike? Because I'd rather have a motorcycle. I like 2 wheels better than 3. But I could try a trike. I mean, I've never ridden one, actually.
You're talking about a little pedal trike?
If you're talking about a pedal trike, I don't think I want to do that.
Big wheels.
I feel like a big wheel, yeah. Like, I will say I've always wanted to try a recumbent bike.
Yeah, the recumbent trikes are pretty interesting.
Oh, there's trikes recumbent?
Yeah, of course there is.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, they're more stable, so you don't have to worry about the instability that recumbents have.
Mm-hmm.
But you still get... The problem is that you got to be careful about your...
Timing.
Yeah, because people have a tendency of blowing out their knees.
Ooh. That's not fun. Let's see. Dustin says, "What's the deal with the CNC you guys got? Gonna be cutting baggers?" Well, Ben, that's
Yes, that is happening actually right now.
it's cutting out stuff.
I mean, I don't know if Bill's running it at the moment,
But it was. Well, it was whenever I walked away. So
yeah.
and he was cutting out the hammer pieces.
Yep.
So yeah, Dustin, that's what's going on with it. It looked nice too. That was one of the nice. Like I don't think I've seen you guys cut quite that nice.
No. The measurements are still off. I've got to do some more, do another calibration run. But yeah, it's coming out pretty clean. I'm happy with it. That's a Maslow. It's just a kit. You can buy it online. It's like $700 for the whole build, and it's
Which for
definitely
CNC is.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely. There's trade-offs for sure. I'd love to have a tabletop 4x8 CNC. That'd be fantastic. I just don't have 20 grand to drop on a machine right now.
And
So.
if we had 20 grand, I'd be asking for a lathe.
Why?
I don't know. I just want a lathe so bad I can't stand
So
it.
you want something that you can then try to find justification for it later on down the road.
Yes.
Great.
Well, I mean, I didn't say it was the smartest move. I just think lathes are cool.
You want to drop 20 grand on a lathe.
CNC lathe.
Great.
I've just been shaking my LC jar side to side, and it's been working pretty good. Yeah, I mean, that does work. People do marbles. People do other things.
Yeah, once you have... How many did you say you have?
116.
Yeah, once you got that many, you don't want to just go through shaky.
116 quart jars. I've got like 25 to 30 half gallons.
Yeah, shaking half gallons kind of sucks. by the way.
It does. It
It's actually-
really does. But yeah, I mean, if you're just doing a few jars, like that the shaking's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it works.
Have you seen the videos where they test the effectiveness of alcohol versus peroxide versus bleach on agar, and alcohol always grows contams? I have not seen videos on this. We did that in college. We did that, and we did the little wafers where you put your antibiotics or whatever product you want to do. You soak the wafers in that product, and then place it on the dish, and then you inoculate the center of the dish, and it grows out, and you can test what contaminants work and don't work. I mean, antibiotics work and don't work.
Yeah. So the big thing about alcohol is, remember, it's not sterile.
It's a sanitizing agent, not a sterilizing
Yep.
agent.
And so you still always want to minimize contact.
Yep. So what a lot of people don't realize is what I'm using the alcohol for. I don't like bleach. Bleach bothers my reactive airway disease really badly. So I stay very far away from bleach if I can help it.
Andrew's rad.
Rad. I've never made that connection. Peroxide. I don't like peroxide because it ruins everything it touches.
Yes.
So alcohol is more stable, evaporates quickly.
Plus it gets you high.
Plus it gets you high. The fumes go away very quickly. It's a well-ventilated space anyways. Alcohol doesn't bother me. And it wets everything down. So, let's say if I've got a syringe, I alcohol the outside of that, every time I'm touching it, I'm not blowing whatever dust may be all over. Like if I grab it and move it around, I could be knocking particles off of it that are dry, whatever. And it basically wets things down, keeps everything stable. Plus, it ruptures anything that's currently alive and bioactive. It does not kill endospores. And that's usually what the contaminations are from in the alcohol, is from endospores.
Yeah, them endospores, they're tough.
They are really tough. Almost as tough as sunflower seeds, apparently.
Almost. Not quite.
Cetus says, or Chip says, thanks Samantha, you're aces. YouTube Ben, I like the vids from Samantha and Ben. We could use some more hard truths.
Mm-hmm.
So, not this next video, the next one after that, or maybe the next one. I can't remember. Mycological Warfare Part 1 is what I'm currently editing that one. So, it won't be more hard truth, but it'll be some more truth that may be hard. How do you structure your business so you can buy laboratory products and equipment like a commercial lab?
I probably want to structure it like a commercial lab.
I don't understand the question, Carrie. I have a business license, and in that business license, I buy laboratory stuff and then write it off. I don't. Does anybody else? Like, am I misunderstanding
Nope,
it?
I'm not involved in the procurement, so.
There are some companies that will allow you to purchase in certain quantities.
So yeah, Fisher Scientific, I can buy from them, but if I buy from them within a laboratory network, I could get cheaper prices on certain things.
Gotcha.
Certain things could also be more expensive. Like, I've noticed that too. Like, if you're in a network, sometimes, like, because everything's negotiated in the network. So
Now, is that because of the way we are structured business-wise, or is that because of your personal connections, like in networking?
it's just
within your
because I
group?
have a EIN number. I just have a business license.
I think that would probably answer it.
So there you go. You just get a business license, and I'm not running like a antibiotics lab or a medicine lab or even a Cat 5 lab, which is like biohazard stuff. I'm not doing any of that stuff. So like there is little to no regulation on the kind of laboratory that I run. So
There are certain products that you cannot order.
yes, there are certain definitely like I wanted to order in some mutagenic material the other day, and
Because why not?
because why not?
Who doesn't want to have radically reactive materials just sitting around that can cause genetic abnormalities?
Oh, there's definitely like a lot of mutagenic material. They're like, do not get on your skin, do not touch, you will get cancer.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, that said, I'm not just ordering mutagens willy nilly. But you definitely have to have like certain licensed laboratories statuses to buy certain things. That said, most of the mutagenic material I'm going to be working with is UV light, so I'm not really. That's not really a highly regulated thing either. So,
Yeah, just watch your eyes.
just watch your eyes. Yeah, yes. Do not burn your eyes out like that one guy did.
Yeah, UV's bad.
UV, it's real bad. Okay, but it's bad. So I'm not sure what you mean on the structure. If you want to comment again, like if I didn't answer your question, let me know. But for the most part, if you're just doing like production, you're not having to worry too much about any sort of lab licensing. Now, when we go to being GMP certified, that's Good Manufacturing Practices certified, we will probably have to have certain modifications done to our labs. But Samantha's already been looking into that kind of stuff. Like traceability is one of the biggest. Traceability is the biggest thing. So we've already started like tracking programs, how we have traceability with everything, Julian dates and everything else that we have to use. So I'm even starting to track my cultures. Really bothering me.
Good on you, Andrew.
I know.
And Enrique Gonzalez, ever consider switching from alcohol to peroxide? Well, we just answered that. No.
We did. Yeah, I'm not. I have considered it and have considered not to do it. And howdy from Texas, huh? Well, hello, Texas, from East Tennessee. This new Dustin Waller or something? Oh, gotcha.
Oh,
The business, gotcha.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, that was Samantha answering that.
Yeah, I should actually have the EIN on Friday. Just talk to.
Woo!
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, we're getting there.
When you get it in hand, we should crack open some beer and do some congratulations. Oh, remind me, I got something to tell you but when we get off here. So,
Ooh,
secret.
You can't know.
Oh, what is that? Secret? I got a secret.
Yes, it's terrible.
Just starting to plan and buy needed stuff for a hopeful future in mushrooms. I've been tracking my stuff using Google Sheets like Excel. What do you use for tracking with your operation? Google Sheets?
Google Sheets.
When you were at Colgate, what did you guys use?
For tracking? SAP.
SAP?
Yeah.
When you were doing all of your work,
Mm-hmm.
when you were writing all that stuff that gathered the data for you,
Yep.
was that Google Sheets?
No, that was Excel.
That was Excel? Okay.
Yeah, Sheets can't access a local database, and that functionality was being worked on, but It wasn't finished by the time I left.
Is it there now? You know?
No idea. I haven't
Okay.
looked.
So if we had a local database, Google Sheets, if they haven't implemented that yet, they wouldn't be able to pull.
Correct.
But because we would just be plugging it in by the terminal here,
Right.
Then-
all of our information would just be there.
because it's already there.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
But SAP it ran off a local database. It was internal to Colgate, and there was no way for Google Sheets to access it.
Gotcha.
So,
Searching Google patents, you find several patents in progress for Chinese mycology. Read a recipe for LC that used gin as a unit of measurement.
great.
That's interesting. I didn't know gin was a unit of measurement, so. But then again, I don't know much about Chinese units of measurement. I assumed they use the metric system, but I guess not. Would you compare the goat mix to the master's mix? What makes the goat mix better and why?
So it's not necessarily better; it's just different. It
Yep.
works well for oysters, Hericium, not so much. Who knows on shiitake? We don't know.
We're still trialing it on anything other than oysters, but
But yeah, so Andrew did some fun reading, and research is fun.
it is.
It's fun to have done research. It is not fun doing the research.
It's fun having results.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like building something. I hate building things, by the way. It's like,
That's why you got a CNC to do it for you.
yeah, that's part of it. But yeah, so building things sucks. It's the matter of having the result. But that's the same thing with research. But lignin is bad. Oyster mushrooms don't actually like lignin. They have to break through it to get to the cellulose that they actually want.
Yep.
The straw has very low to no lignin, and it's mostly just cellulose and hemicellulose, which is very accessible to
Yeah.
mushrooms. So oysters, it's just more of the food that oysters want and less of the stuff that they have to chew on harder to get their nutrients.
Yeah. So lignin is really hard to break apart. Most hardwood trees have basically a chain of lignin wrapped around cellulose and hemicellulose to protect it and give it structure. That's why hardwood is hard. The only things that can really break that down are white rot funguses. Most of what we are growing as mushroom farmers is white rot fungus. Oysters,
But they have to expend energy
yes.
to get past it in order to get to their food. Whereas the cellulose is what they actually want to be eating.
Right.
And
Now,
so the straw is...
I do
it's
think that, like,
nom, nom, nom.
part of the reason... So, I've wondered, because Hericium has done so well on pine, which is... So, hardwood fuel pellets, or hardwood is about 45% lignin. Pine is about 35% lignin,
Okay.
and where straw is about 20 to 25%. And,
You out of here?
you see it, you leaving, Bill?
All right.
Have a good one. Good night. The straw being at about 20 to 25% lignin, makes it where there's a lot more cellulose and hemicellulose, like you're talking about. But
Man, this answer's gotten long. Keep
the,
going.
the
Just
question
keep
I
going.
have is, why does Hericium not work well on straw?
Don't know.
Like, why does it do so well on hardwood, and why does it do so well on pine?
Yeah, there might be some other stuff in there that,
Yeah.
that it wants.
I'm trying. I really want to figure that out. I don't know.
It did exceptionally well on pine. I was very surprised.
Yeah, so our bear's head that we grew on pine pellets, the pine mix, which is pine mix is just pine pellets and soybean hull pellets.
Right, everything's soy still right now.
Yeah, I want to get away from it. We're just not there yet.
Freaking soy.
It's not that even that I want to get away from it. It is that I want to have an alternative.
Right,
Yeah.
that's the big thing.
But the bear's head that we grew on the pine mix produced about a pound more per block on average.
On the same size block.
On the same size block.
The only difference being the pine
Yeah.
substrated for hardwood.
So I thought it would do well on straw, and it took like an extra 2 to 3 weeks. You know that the only Hericium we've tried on straw though was that maple, and from what I've heard from other people, it's a slow fruiter anyways. That maple Hericium.
Oh yeah.
So maybe we should try comb tooth on it.
Yeah, just try
Yeah.
it all. Just-
Okay, I'll go ahead and try it and see if we can get the goat mix to work well. But comparing the goat mix to the master's mix is just, I mean, you already know what it is. It's just, it is literally just that we got slightly better yields with the oysters. It is another product that we can get. It is a product in not as high a demand as hardwood fuel pellets, and straw pellets don't have the same seasonality to them that hardwood fuel pellets do. Hardwood fuel pellets usually are here for winter and then gone. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, the main thing is that we're trialing substrates in order to have some future proofing, because as things we're starting to have shortages one place or another. It's not really a matter of is one better, it's just what can we use.
Right. So a lot of people, like I've had 3 phone calls today where people ask me about, am I ever worried about market saturation and competition? And my answer was no, not really. That we have some concerns for market saturation. That Ben's gone over them a little bit in mycological warfare, basically just about when we think it's coming. But one of the big things that's kind of worried me was the huge explosion in farms and the pressures that's going to create on the supply chains. So basically, like Ben said, we're just future-proofing and sharing that information with you guys, because if hardwood fuel pellets aren't available, well, straw pellets may be available. If straw pellets aren't available, pine pellets are available. If pine pellets, we're going to try to do the same thing with soy, and that way...
Yeah, and having the information readily available to where you know what mushrooms grow readily on each substrate, that's going to be good to have. So we're trying to just get that information readily available. I know other people have done the trials,
but they've not really shared the information.
Yeah, and where it has been shared, it's been a little bit at a time in scattered places, and so we'd like to just start to get things together to where we can have it have a central resource that just says, okay, this is the material.
Yeah, and what I would like to see is...
and what I really want to do, by the way, is have a freaking wiki on the website to where if other people have done trials, they can give that information back, and we can just have just the database. Now, if somebody already has something like this, then please drop a note in the comments, and I'd be happy to ride along on somebody else's infrastructure, because that will be valuable.
Oh yeah.
But I haven't found it, and so that is a project that eventually I want to get off the ground. We'll see. Anyway, that was a long answer. Sorry for being boring. It's his fault.
Yeah, I'm not sorry. Just got a pallet of straw pellets from Seth. Is your goat mix just 50-50 soy straw, or are you adding anything? So it's 50-50 because...
By volume. Which ends up being like 45-55 in favor of the straw pellets.
Yeah, the straw is...
denser.
It's denser.
It's heavy.
Yeah. And my guess is just where it's a softer material, it could be compressed into a tighter pellet. So, but no, we don't add anything else. It's just we just ran it through Thor. We changed nothing about Thor. So it's actually a slightly drier mix too, because it's where there's a little bit more dry material in there. We didn't change the water. So
right. So it's not actually a 60-40 hydration or 60% hydration. It's 50-something%.
Hi folks, I'm enjoying the Q&A. How many gallons is your trough? 300. How many bags can you get in it? 120 to 170 12-pound bags. Why do you use 12-pound bags?
Because that's about the most that you can put in a bag and still shake it easily.
Yep.
XLSA.
So, I mean, our goat mix bags are actually like 13-pound bags, closer to it.
Yeah, and, the people who actually have to shake them start to hate us, but, it's okay.
I mean, I haven't heard any complaints recently.
It's because you terrify people.
Everyone keeps saying that I'm scary, and I'm not. I'm
scary.
I'm a teddy bear of a person. I can't get a filter mushroom bag here in Hungary. Can PP buckets work with top inoculation?
So yes, it's just going to be a slow colonization. That's man. I've been wanting to crack this freaking bucket problem for some time. Because everybody hates these bags. There's nobody that wants to deal with bags. They suck. Except it is the solution with the least amount of problems right now.
Right.
But the polypropylene buckets, you can do it. It will take forever. That's the problem with top inoculation. And then the problem is fruiting it. How are you going to fruit it? You pull the lid off and then just let it top fruit? And that's fine, it'll work, but then when you pick, you're not going to have a good tight cluster, and that's why we like the bags. We cut a little pocket out and let the mushrooms pop, and then it's just a matter of grabbing the cluster, pop, break the stem, pull it off, and so harvesting is easy. Out of the bucket, you're going to suffer. It's going to take forever to colonize. You're going to have so many buckets because you're going to have such a backlog of colonization.
I have thought, though, that top fruiting, like a gnocchi and stuff in a bucket, might actually work out pretty well.
I mean, that's what they do. That's bottle culture.
That's bottle culture, yeah.
Is a gnocchi.
It's just a bucket's a lot easier to clean than a bottle because a bucket can be dumped, whereas the bottles have the narrowed necks.
Yeah.
So...
But they have infrastructure to clean them, augers that
that's true.
Pull everything out.
That's true. I've seen it. Like that whole tray of bottles flips over.
Yep. And then
yeah.
Cleans everything out.
That's crazy.
So yes, the short answer is it can work. You will suffer because of it.
But suffering because of it might be better than not growing at all.
That is correct.
So, though I would also look at like the Chinese bags, the way they do it, like in China, Thailand, South.
You're talking about just the poly,
like the long poly bags, and then they have the collars that they just put polyfill in.
Yeah.
And
yeah, there's ways to use easier lower tech infrastructure. I've seen people use bread bags. Now, bread bags I think are just polyethylene, so you would not be able to sterilize in them, but you can pasteurize in polyethylene.
Yeah. Doesn't it get brittle though?
No, it'll get soft.
It will until it cools, or
yeah.
Okay.
But polyethylene. I mean, a standard bucket is high density polyethylene, and we used to boil water.
That's right.
Bucket,
Yeah,
so,
we did.
Yeah, it's going to hold up okay. And then the collars. It's just a loop, a cut pipe, whatever the heck, and then stuff it with polyfill or whatever you can get that's going to be a filter material.
Well, thanks. I'm in the South, too. There's a fungus among us. Very well. So that's like the fifth or sixth fungus guy I've talked to in Texas today.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. You're welcome for the super stickers. I really appreciate the awesome info that y'all share. Really want to work with strains and genetics. Hope we do strain trades one day. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And one of the things we're working on is isolation farms.
Yep.
Like, that was actually your idea. Do you want to explain what that is? Because I thought this was a brilliant idea. I really like this.
So, yeah, as we've been, especially the wild genetics.
Oh, gosh,
I think there's so much diversity that hasn't been explored there. And I don't know the history of any of the commercial strains, how they were developed. I haven't looked into that. I don't really have the patience to do it. If Andrew knows, I'm sure he can chime in.
I don't, but
Okay,
I've been
so
thinking that I would like to talk to Lamberts and places like that.
Yeah, like where did these come from?
Yeah.
Where did the blue oyster? I've never seen a wild blue. Now I don't know if anybody.
I think
has.
it is. I think there is a
it.
wild one in Europe somewhere, but I don't know that it's common.
Anyway, so this is a thing. Blue oysters are such a common thing. But whatever. The simplest thing is, I want to explore what's there. Like having seen that purple mushroom, and knowing that is there, and yet who's ever seen a freaking purple mushroom, purple oyster mushroom?
Not me.
Yeah, you have.
Until then, I mean.
Right, like that was so awesome. Like I saw that and I was just like, I'm in love with you. And then it got murdered and it broke my heart. But there's a lot of low hanging fruit, and we don't have the capacity to get through all of that ourselves. And so I've been telling Andrew he needs to just get a simple breeding protocol put together, and just even if we just worry about isolation, not even worry about crosses, but like drill down on these different wild strains, and even some of the commercial strains, and just see what we can develop there. Because breeding back on itself, that's how you can bring out recessive traits. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in my blog post I was talking about family ropes, because it's a child of itself.
Right.
It's
the
so
most
weird. Bizarre thing. Mushrooms are crazy.
it's crazy because line breeding is common in animal agriculture, but
Yep.
you don't even have to do line breeding
No,
with mushrooms. You can just literally do self-breeding.
Yeah, right. It's so bizarre. But yeah, you can breed back on that mushroom. That mushroom can breed to its children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. You can keep that strain alive for hundreds of generations and be crossing. Oh, it's such a mess. Anyway, so we like the idea of, Andrew refers to it as render farms, which, I have a little bit of background in 3D design, not enough to where you'll ever see anything from it because I'm lazy and I have too much to do. But I love the idea of actually getting back into it. Who knows if it will? Mm-hmm. But that's the thing, is a render farm is where you can send off your work in order to be rendered into a final product. And so I love this idea of having just crowdsourcing this and getting the genetics out there into the community, and then having this protocol in place to where we can systematically divide up these different strains that are available now and drill down into them and see what is laying down there, and then as a community develop more and more interesting strains. I think that would be hugely valuable, because even just in the tiny little bit of work that we've done, we've seen just incredible results.
Yeah.
The mother of pearl was the big one.
That's the best thing we've come up with so far.
Yeah, so far.
But
then
it's not the only thing, because you got tons of wild ones that we're finding some value in. But that's like the watercolor oyster, the super scallop, the king blue, there's a whole bunch going through testing right now. Like BS8's in there right now. Okay. I don't know if you saw it. It's that strange looking striped blue. It's like, I don't know, like, it's just weird. It's in the grow room right now.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Check it out tonight.
But then, you also had the super stripe that really showed the stripe from stipe to cap. And then, even more so, I love the idea of digging down into taste and longevity. There's so much that can be developed in the mushroom breeding, and we're not going to be able to develop it all ourselves. And Andrew's got such a simple freaking process down now that we just want to start exporting that, and then having a little bit of organization, not to where we're like controlling anybody, but just say, okay, I'm working on this, you're working on this. As a community, we'll be willing to have this cross-pollination and sharing of what we develop, so that we can all have better access to these exotic strains that we can develop.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a huge amount of value there.
So, like, there's a guy named Tom Staley, who took mother of pearl. I explained to him my breeding process, and this was kind of like an early test for the protocol to see, how can I export this? And he ended up taking mother of pearl and breeding it just to itself. And he's like, man, what are the parents of mother of pearl? He's like, because I'm seeing something a little weird. And I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, the parents are Lambert's 1, 2, 3, and then the North Spore Snow. Why? What are you seeing? And so he sent me a picture of these pins that were coming out of the block, and they were dark navy blue. And he's like, oh, it obviously went back more towards the Lambert side than the Snow side on this one. But it was just interesting because I really didn't know if it would go back to just the dark blue. But I guess there is, I don't even know what controls the blue. If it's a modifier gene, or if it's
I don't know.
a dilute, or I don't know what, but it's. We do actually have a plant geneticist helping us with coming up with a program, and he was talking about how if we start tracking all of the shades of blue we see, or all these little differences that we can see, if we'll just keep the numbers down, then that will tell us a lot more about what actually exists and everything. So,
right. And especially, that's the problem, is that when you cross, and I dealt with this in my blog post about the pink or purple mushroom.
Yeah.
When you cross two oysters together, then you have 3 potential
parental lineages.
Right. So the mom can breed back to itself, the dad can breed back to itself, or they can actually breed to each other. And so, who knows who really?
That's
is the
before you
parents.
start talking about multi-spore breeding too.
Right, and that's a fun game that we're going to start playing. And at that point, it's just like, parentage is just impossible to assess. It will just be a matter of, out of all these that we throw in there, who ends up doing the best and outcompeting everybody else. So it's going to be fun. That's the big thing, is we just like having fun and seeing what's there. And so if we can find useful things out of it as well, then that's
all the more.
Right.
All the more fun.
Well, it's super exciting to see what you can dream up. Like, that was the big thing, is we talk about void walking, and that was something that was how I referred to the way I will just close off the world and iterate through potential designs in my head. The idea being I step out into the void where everything is possible, and then try to refine endless possibilities down to what is possible in the real world given my current circumstances. And that's how I came up with Thor and then the mousetrap. But then I was trying to talk to Andrew about this process, which is, it's just imagination. It's just stepping out into a world of pure imagination and then refining that down to what actually works in the real world. And so Andrew did his own experiments with void walking and just iterating. And then, okay, what can we do to maximize every step of this process? And he developed a protocol that is just mind-blowingly productive. And it was so productive that you really just did some early crosses, and a year later we're still processing the strains that were developed at that early point.
Yeah, it was December of 2019 when I first started developing the crosses, started developing the program.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we still have not tested all the strains from 2 crosses in December of 2019.
Right.
We're still churning through those. Now, hopefully the added grow capacity is going to help with testing those faster, but yeah, that's and part of that was the slowdown during COVID and the build out of the warehouse, but
Right.
it's still but from 1 cross, I think we ended up with 136 strains.
Yep.
That were, and these are 136 strains that already, when I saw them, were interesting enough to clone, because there were more strains than that.
Right.
So,
an order of magnitude more strains than that.
Right.
But those are the ones that showed potential that were kept and cataloged.
Absolutely. So it's gonna be cool. We're gonna do I've already got a bunch of crosses in the lab right now. I've got pretty much every step of the process for the mushroom breeding protocol in the works right now, which means that I have material I can video pretty regularly, and I'm just going to keep this churn going so that I've got just more and more and more coming out.
Yeah.
And then, I'll just show people what I'm doing, and we'll see how many people will start breeding, and it'd be cool to see all the cool strains that come out of this without even
that's
me
the big
touching
thing
them.
is
So the strain trades are going to get really interesting soon.
Yeah. Well, because when you started, there were a few good strains. Lambert's has always been a good strain bank.
Yeah.
But they only have a few.
3 oysters. That's it.
Yeah. And that's fine because they've only kept the best.
Yep.
And they have really good oysters. But anymore, we've gone on past that.
Yeah, I still grow Lambert's 1, 2, 3 because it's good breeding stock, but it's, in my mind, there are already strains out there now that I would consider superior.
Yeah.
That I would choose over it. Not that I would stop growing Lambert's 1, 2, 3, but
Right. It's good and solid, but
yeah. But if I had to pick between, oh crap, this week I can only plant King Blue or Lambert's 1, 2, 3, I'd pick King Blue.
Right.
So
Mother of Pearl.
Mother of Pearl. I'd pick Mother of Pearl.
One of its children.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, that was a very long-winded response there, but
it's the part that we're passionate about.
There's a huge amount of potential there, and as those strains come out, then they just become part of the scene. Like the King Blue, people are growing it all over the freaking place.
Oh yeah, well, it's weird too because I released that one that was like the very first one I released, and that's been years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just weird because it's only been the past couple of years that it's really taken off. Yeah, and I wonder if that's going to be a common thing to where
everything takes a while to build up momentum.
Well, that's what it's like. Mother of Pearl is my absolute favorite, and I'm starting to see it be sold here and there, but it's not it's only whenever I'll see I'll grow it out, share it, maybe 10, 15 farms will buy it, right? Mm-hmm. They grow it out and they share it, and then it's I start to see a little bit coming back from that as it goes. So, and then maybe it's just got to go through the ether, maybe.
That's the way it is. But yeah, that's the thing is that during the whole course of being mushroom growers, what we saw 3015 come along. And that made a big splash in the mushroom world because it was a faster grower, but the quality of the fruit wasn't as good. And then we've had a few other come through the channels, I guess.
Yeah.
And who knows? Were those bred? I don't know the history of any of them. Were they wild collected strains?
I don't know on most of them. I know Elm Z was bred from Elm A by Jay Schindler.
Right. Which was a huge step forward.
It was.
Then you could grow elm all year round.
And that's another thing. He used, that was just an isolation breed using stressors. And that's something I really want to get into. So, oh, that's right.
Oh, incubator.
Yeah, we got an incubator now. So, well, we don't have it yet, but we want it. But I'll be doing stressor videos where I'm going to show people how you.
Stressful.
That sounds stressful. It's going to be very stressful. Not for you, not for me. Poor mushrooms, though.
Yeah.
But I was saying that I went on that 3-mile walk today, and I definitely just geeked out all over her about how cool it's going to be to have an incubator and be able to run all these variations on breeding trials. So, she definitely did a good job too. She didn't get a glazed look in her eye or anything. She paid attention the whole time. So.
Right, we're demonetized.
We're demonetized. With the steam sterilizers you were talking about, is that instead of using an All-American pressure cooker? Yes, it is. So you have All-American pressure cookers, All-American autoclaves. Both of those use pressure and steam to sterilize whatever you put in there. The steam sterilizers we're talking about are actually ultra pasteurizers. It's actually a process called ultra pasteurization. That is the technical term for it. You don't hear that in the mushroom industry. Everyone calls them steam sterilizers. So it's literally just steam cooked at steam cooking your substrate at atmospheric pressure for a very long time, and it's just ultra pasteurization. Typically, most things you see ultra pasteurized are liquid products like milk. I'm trying to think of what else, but milk is the most common one I can think of.
Ultra pasteurized. It's a flash pasteurization. It just goes through a channel with hot steam columns. It's a quick cook.
That's what I was going to say. Is that most ultra pasteurization processes are done really fast in a liquid.
Right.
It's still technically ultra pasteurization because it's done at an atmospheric pressure.
Yeah, but it's not over the extended period of time.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. So, yes. What I'm saying is you don't tend to see ultra pasteurization in solid products because it takes so long.
Correct.
To do that. Yeah. Typically, you see hot water bath pasteurization on selective substrates. A selective substrate is just a substrate that already certain things will not grow on. So you can use a selective substrate like straw because straw does not support bacterial growth very well. And so it becomes selective because you're only growing funguses. Your main competition there would be molds. And then all you have to do is do a hot water bath pasteurization process to kill all the living mold off, or at least most of it, and just knock it back enough that whenever you add the spawn to the straw, it's able to grow in faster than the mold is. So there's a quick little breakdown. Stainless steel will rust if you use a sanding disc or grinding stone that has been used on mild steel, you have to cut rust out. It just spreads if you try to polish it out.
Yeah, so that's the problem, is that the rust will actually cause a point at which it will spread out from there. It's very slow combustion. And yeah, even if you just try to polish it out, like there's actually a passivation. Like, so if you resurface it in any way, then you expose some of the iron. And then that iron, the problem is when it oxidizes, then it expands that outside layer. And so it will cause a chain reaction, because that will pop off and expose more iron. And then that will then pop and crack the surface, which will expose more iron. And so it will just continue to run. It's a runaway.
Oxygen's kind of a terrible thing.
Yeah, it is. Like, we should get rid of it. But anyway, so you passivate the surface, and it's a chemical process, generally citric acid. And I don't know anything about what I'm talking about, but that citric acid will strip the iron content out and just leave the nichrome finish.
Is that why it leaves it so shiny?
No, it's actually polished.
Okay.
And then stripped. But yeah, I mean, it contributes to it, because nickel and chrome have a better surface finish than the iron does.
And you said that's citric acid?
Yeah.
So why does citric acid have? What does it do to glass? Does it do anything to glass?
I don't know.
Because we use
I'm not a
citric
chemist.
acid.
The only reason why I know anything about this is because we had to passivate the pipes
At
at Colgate.
Okay.
And that was the reason, was if we didn't, then it would be subject to rust.
Interesting. I didn't know. We put citric acid in our dishwasher, and it makes the dishes come out like super sparkling, nice
Okay,
looking.
So apparently it does good things to glass.
Yeah, I guess. I just didn't know what.
Glass is fairly inert for the most part, so.
Gotcha. Rocket City says, Andrew, I got you a lathe, mini metal lathe. Well, man, you Discord messaged me, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever see growth on top of your LC? Thanks for all. Yes.
All the time. Look. Beautiful.
All the time. Look at that little cake. Comes from not stirring enough, or well enough. Mossy Creek mutagens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are behind on the chat, aren't we?
A little bit, yeah. Like a lot of it.
15 minutes or 20 minutes in PC for Agar. 45. Any plans to grow outside? I'm off-grid with little electricity and looking for ways to make this work for me. I don't have any plans for that. We'll say Field and Forest has got a lot of good information on their website about growing outside. Growing your own greens went up to What the Fungus's place, I think.
No idea.
At least, if he didn't, I know urban farmer Curtis Stone guy went. And he's not like off-grid, but he's more off-grid than we are. So, any thoughts on using pelletized newspaper? I saw that William Padilla Brown is using that, and I wouldn't be against it. It's just a carbon source. I would just use it in place of straw or something like that.
The only problem with newspaper that I would see is that you have the ink, and inks oftentimes have heavy metals. So, as we talked about earlier,
I think the ones
oysters
that
are
are in
heavy
those
metal.
pellets that he was talking about, that William was talking about, are vegetable-based ink only.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I think they stay away from the heavy metal ones specifically because it's like used as a animal bedding.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only thing that I would be concerned about is the ink's bad.
It's real bad. I've used shredded paper to grow on, and I didn't have a problem growing on shredded paper. You just have to add your supplement source. I would absolutely try. What's it called? Yesterday's News, I think, is what he was using. So, I could definitely look into it, see how cheap it is. If it's pretty cheap, I would say it's going to mush more than sawdust, though.
Could be.
Yeah. Might be harder to shake. Grow diaries.
Yes.
Indeed. Can you give me a good fruiting block recipe for reishi and turkey tail? Yep.
Yeah.
50-50 hardwood fuel pellets and soybean hull pellets. Hydrate to 60%.
It works great.
And I am not joking. I saw on NHK I don't know what NHK is. Last night, spawning matsutake in a big jar with a live pine tree, then setting it all out in a big container in a pine forest to fruit.
Okay, great.
That sounds cool. I wonder if it actually worked. Someone said that they're in Texas too, right side out Austin. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Texas is like.
Do you have a Discord chat? Yes, we do.
We do. It's just the Mossback Mushroom Syndicate. There are links in the Mossback Mushroom Syndicate on Facebook and on previous live chats. I don't have Discord pulled up right now to do it, so. This guy said me too in 3D design, so I'm assuming he's answering you from earlier.
Me. Yeah, so I guarantee you that you are better at 3D design than I am. That's just the way it is.
He said, laugh my ass off. Yeah, I do 3D design for this video game we're building.
I'm sorry. That must be terrible for you.
What is the best way to contact you guys? So you got our website is mossycreekmushrooms.com. There's a contact us form on there. That's usually the best way to go. You've also got our email address, mossycreekmushrooms@gmail.com. Someone said probably through their business.
Yes.
That breeding project sounds awesome. Hope to be at a point to be able to join you guys in that endeavor when you all launch it.
I hope that you are too.
Me too.
Good luck.
DC says, Andrew, in the past you've mentioned using softwood instead of hardwood. Can you give a brief summary of your experiences? So I've already done that. It's straw and pine are the only ones I have experience with. Other people have used Douglas fir, and I can't remember the other common softwood off the top of my head all of a sudden.
Sure.
People just use it as if they were using hardwood fuel pellets, and they have good results, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
Good luck finding Douglas fir pellets around here.
Yeah, none around here.
Yeah.
But the pine pellets worked fine for pretty much everything you're growing.
Yeah, we only tried the pine pellets on two things. There's mother of pearl, and we did see a bump in yield with that.
Bear's head.
And the bear's head, we definitely saw a bump in yield in that. But the mother of pearl did fine. I tried, I took a raw piece of oyster and chewed on it, and I was like, oh, I don't know, that's kind of odd taste. It's kind of astringent.
Oh, yeah?
But at the same time, I haven't tried a raw piece of oyster in years.
Oh, they're gross.
Yeah, they're super gross.
Yeah, you cook those things.
Yeah, so it was probably just that gave me maybe not for oysters. But,
So you didn't try cooking them?
We sent them, no, I didn't. We sold them to the chefs and told them what they were, and not a single complaint.
Okay.
So, ZBrush, never heard of it. He must be talking to Samantha. SVG for Ben CNC. I'm not good with big words. Yep, that's definitely a conversation between him and Samantha. Hello, my favorite people. Oh, Stephanie Dennis!
Oh, hey, Steph.
What's up, Steph? Favorite person? Paul Phillips says, LC question. How long do you keep a jar of LC before you inoculate a fresh jar, assuming you don't use it all first? How long do you keep a jar of LC before you inoculate? I've got jars that are like a year and a half old, so unless it looks bad or doesn't continue working, I just keep it. I don't really have nobody knows. If anybody does, they've not shared that information, and I have not hit the ceiling on it yet. So I don't really have a good answer for you, other than, that I've been up to a year and a half so far in jars. Man, my nose is getting a little stuffy all of a sudden. Do y'all have any experience with portobello? I've been looking at it growing. So no, we don't. Other than eating. I have seen people doing it in their basement. I've seen people doing it in these little box kits that they get under their porches and stuff. I want to do some. Ben has talked about he wants to do some. We both really agree that portobellos are good eating. So I'd like to grow some and try them. I'd like to see what a fresh, just picked portobello tastes like. If it's any different than a 2 or 3 week old one in the grocery store. I bet it is.
Yeah. I mean, everything's better fresh.
Yep. What's up, Nathan? Thanks. I just got an LC I ordered from you. Growing out on a plate, really nice. You guys rock. Thanks, Paul. We really appreciate it. Thanks for the business too, man. Negative 10 below in Montana. My mushrooms are doing good. Good. Thank you, man. I'm glad to hear you. You growing well. I cannot speak today. That sentence was like a caveman sentence.
Yep.
I'm glad you do well. How's that?
Where are you at?
Right here. We're about at the bottom of the... People are going to have to start...
Okay, Cameron Ferguson, yes, incubator's cool. Anthony Noveco, what?
You know who Cameron Ferguson is?
I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, Cameron, I'm sorry. I was thinking Cameron Meeks.
Oh, sorry. We
Yeah.
thought we were excited about you being on here.
I mean, I am excited about you being on the show. Oh, come on.
This guy.
Don't get me in trouble. I just thought it was Cameron Meeks. Cameron Meeks is one of my my students through a consult.
Oh, that's
so,
fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so Cameron Ferguson, we actually just got a incubator through GovDeals, I guess. Steph, who we just commented on, my girlfriend, she's great. She watched it for us, and it's wonderful. So we're going to see what we can do with that, and it will be grand.
I'm very excited about it.
And Anthony Nemekeo, I'm sure I butchered that one. Thoughts on using hydrogen peroxide in place of steam sterilization? Yes. Oh my gosh, have I thought about that? I would love to play with that.
There's some legality issues in ordering highly concentrated.
Yeah, it gets you get above about 30%, and the Department of Homeland Security really wants to have a good talk with you. If you start generating it, then the Department of Homeland Security has some issues with that.
I bet.
So I would love to play with that because I think it's got some potential there. I don't know how energy intensive it is to generate the stuff. I didn't look that far because I didn't figure that was realistic. But the idea of just like instead of water, have a certain concentration of hydrogen peroxide in that water, and just have it the peroxide would just destroy and frag any organic material in there.
Which I actually wondered if it would make nutrients more bioavailable too. Like if it's just ripping open cell walls.
Yeah, who knows? And of course, as the peroxide hits organic material, then it heats up, and so you'd have somewhat of a pasteurization effect there too. And it would be a matter of dialing it in, like how much peroxide do you need for the amount of substrate that you are trying to frag. And yes, I've done some thinking about this. I think it would be grand. I also think that you could get yourself in a lot of trouble and potentially blow up your operation.
Yeah, so one of there's a few reasons why we didn't try it, which in blowing up our operation and dealing with regulators. We don't like regulators.
Right.
If there are any regulators in here, it's not that we don't like you personally.
It's not that we don't like you.
It's that we don't like regulation, so we just stay away from it.
Right. We're in the South. Get over it.
Yeah. The Scots-Irish community is staunchly opposed to regulation. Sean Shields says, do you know if anyone has tried canola whole pellets as a supplement? I don't know of anybody, but Samantha, do you know where my Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms book is? I do. It's in there. It's sitting on top of Radical Mycology.
Wait, does he talk about this?
No, I was just going to look it up in the charts. He's got charts on all kinds of feedstocks.
Oh, neat.
So if he's got it listed, I would...
Oh, Paul.
So Paul did some valuable work back in his book writing days.
Yeah.
So I'll look it up, Sean, but we'll continue on questions until I can find it. Big O says, new to the channel, binge watched some of your content last night. I'm sorry. Keep it up, man. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. You may have gotten to see Baby Andrew. That's what Jesse, we were on the Discord last night. There were like 9 people on there last night, voice chat, yeah.
What that?
Consistently. But Jesse was talking about how he was watching some videos and older stuff is starting to pop up on his recommended. And he's like, I got to see Baby Andrew, little beardless Andrew. Did you say so? It's canola whole, right? So basic materials, canola it's not listed there. And then he has another one for supplements, and that would be not listed. So sorry, but Sean, I've got zero information on using canola whole pellets or canola hulls as a supplement. If you know their nutritional content, I would be very interested in seeing that, but you're going to want something, if you look up soybean hulls, you'll see that they get a high nitrogen content, good fiber content, low amount of fat. Or no. Yeah, it's a low amount of fat. So, high fiber, low fat, high protein. Kind of what you're looking for.
Which canola, I don't know if they'd have high fat left.
I don't know about the
oil's
holes.
pressed.
Yeah, if the oil's pressed, I would imagine it'd be fine.
Yep, no idea. Don't know anything about it.
And if you can't find any information on it, you should try it and then report it to the community. Because that would be the open source thing to do.
Yep.
When your LC gets low, can you add more liquid to it and let mycelium expand again through the new media? Yeah, you can, Christopher, but it is actually easier just to make a new jar of liquid culture, suck up a syringe of your other liquid culture, and inject it into a new jar. Like, adding more water to it is way more work than it's worth. But yeah, you just sterilize a jar full of liquid culture and then suck it out syringe by syringe.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of easier to just take a small
seed,
amount of the active liquid culture and start it in the fresh material than to try to go the other way.
Exactly.
However, this is something that I've been dreaming about is what if we could have a continuous flow of sterile material into a silo and do silo culture. Like, why would you ever need a whole friggin' silo worth of liquid culture? Well, it's a thing. Trust me.
You'll find out soon.
Yep. But yes, this is something that I'm very interested in. It's just a matter of having the appropriate infrastructure to do so.
Absolutely. Oh, infrastructure. You are such a sexy creature.
Indeed.
Just inoculated some agar plates. Any tips on where to store agar for optimal growth?
Where it's warm.
Yeah, where it's warm, like not too warm. Room temperature is fine. A little warmer than room temperature is good. I mean, honestly, man, I just have them on shelves in my lab, so I'm not really like real careful about where they go. Other than I like try to put them by type, but even that has failed now because I have so many different dishes.
So Nathan Weiss, willows for substrate? No idea.
Willow is a softwood, I think. I imagine it would be fine.
Yeah, I don't know about any kind of chemical in it.
I don't know of any antifungals in the sapwood
What do they make
or
out of the bark of
aspirin.
willow? Aspirin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you might have very, very low pain mushrooms. They might suffer from a remarkably low joint pain as they grow, which will be nice for them.
Aspirin is pretty much my best friend, so if I could have an aspirin mushroom,
that'd be great.
You guys been online for a while, but man, I can't wait to send you my pine oyster. That's Dustin. Oh, it's Shaka!
What up,
man, why didn't I get that earlier? Oh, I'm such a fool. Yes,
Yeah,
Shaka.
so why don't we have it yet?
Yeah, man, send me that pine oyster. I want to see it work on that
Let's
pine
get
pellet.
on this.
Well, shit. Demonetized. Well, shoot.
Again.
We're actually, looks like down here at the bottom, so, we've been going for 2 hours and 42 minutes. So, oh, wait, Michael Schatt's, crap. I said Michael Schatt. It is not Michael Schatt. He just told me, yesterday how to pronounce it correctly, and I've
Midnight
already
Mushrooms?
Yeah.
I have no idea how to say it.
It's Michael, Schatte. Shatta. I'm butchering your name. I'm going to stop. Because I'm butchering his name.
Mike?
Michael, it's good to see you. I'm sorry I've butchered you. Wait a minute. No. Yeah. No.
So Colin Van Home, no, we haven't done much with morels. It's a waste of time unless you really, really want to spend a lot of time on it.
Right.
And you're into that type of thing, which isn't that Midnight Mushrooms?
Who?
That's doing the morels?
Yeah. Shati. There we go.
Shati.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Anyway, yeah, so there are people who hate their lives enough that they find it worthwhile to play with that morel stuff. I'm not one of them.
So
Andrew isn't yet either, but his life keeps getting worse. So I'm sure that he will hate it enough to explore morel cultivation at some point.
So I'm actually really interested in if anybody's in mushroom growing.
Of course, you're interested in it.
Shh. It's going to be better than you think.
Great.
If anybody's into mushroom growing, you guys can look up Morel Tempa or look up Sidney Ober-Singleton. He's the one who created Morel Tempa. But, it's Midnight Harvest doing the morels, not Midnight Mushrooms.
Oh,
so
I definitely thought you were somebody who was more glamorous. But I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. Midnight Mushrooms, I'm so happy that you're here on the chat.
You want me to smack him for you?
This is Samantha said she'll smack him for
Don't
him.
smack me. I'm at that point where this has been going long enough to where I'm starting to become...
You're starting to become a grump?
Starting to become impatient, and... it's just Steph. She's man.
Stephanie!
She's the best.
Stephanie.
He has other things on his mind.
Yeah.
That's true.
He's wanting to get home.
So, anyway, sorry if I offended you. That's never my intention. I do it a lot. What do you do?
Right. Okay, where were we? So Colin, going back to you real quick, have you guys done work with morel mushrooms? No, not really, but I want to do the Morel Tempa, which is basically just the soybeans fermented using morel mycelium, and it's supposed to be really, really good. Also, you heard that we've set up shop in Jefferson City, Tennessee. When will you be open for business? We are open for business now. We've been open for business for months, since since April of last year. So if you're local, man, just come on in. Yep. You may have to knock on the front door to get Jack's attention, because I usually come in late, and we're open 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we all want it, Shaka. Yeah, man, everybody wants that pine oyster. Edgar said, why oats or wild bird seed, or which are your top picks? Oats are my top pick. High nitrogen content, hardy, hard to mess up. Good to go. Bags or jars in the long run? Bags. You don't have to wash bags. Trevor, are you doing spore-to-spore isolation on agar plates for breeding? So,
spore-to-spore isolation?
Right, that's the question.
About, like isolating two individual spores.
Oh, I wonder if he's talking about spore dilution, like going single spore isolates.
Isolating, where you have two spores, starting one out, starting the other out, letting them.
If you're talking about that, no, that is not what I'm doing at all. That is the traditional method for doing mushroom breeding, and it is way too time intensive and way too money intensive for me to for it to be as profitable as it could be.
Yeah, so that's the result of when you put a lab tech in charge of a breeding program.
Right.
So Andrew's a farmer, and we're also dreamers, and so ours is nothing.
Yeah.
Even remotely like
I really don't want to go into it on here, but we'll definitely be doing. I've got videos coming out, and I'll be showing. It's just super simplified. It is highly inspired by the psilocybin cubensis community, because those guys are the preeminent breeders of mushrooms right now. So, like, people often ask me, like, Andrew, we know what you're up to. Why are you in all those psilocybin groups like Agar of Asgard and stuff on Facebook? And I'm like,
because that's where the
breeding's happening.
Yeah,
that's where all the cutting edge stuff's happening.
And we talked about this before. That it's like nobody breeds tomatoes,
right?
Or at least the cutting edge work on breeding isn't happening in tomatoes. It's happening in marijuana.
Right. It's starting to now.
Right.
I mean, it has been for a little bit quietly, but yeah, it's not. It's just now.
But that real frontier work has been going on the high value, the high value stuff, which generally happens to be illegal, because illegality tends to make scarcity, and scarcity makes value.
Yes.
So anyway, so the silly people, they are the ones who are on the cutting edge, and there's a lot of nonsense and a lot of real whack stuff going on in that community. But if you can filter it through with enough sense to say, oh, hey, look, there's something there, then there's a lot there, and they're willing to explore all over the place, because most of them are dirt poor and don't have a clue what they're doing. But now that you're starting to see a little bit of money come into it as it's being decriminalized, there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening in the silly. Yeah,
there is. Groups. Well, especially as it's being decriminalized and stuff, and people are able to start posting about it a lot more.
Yep.
You're starting to see, the sheer amount of new albino strains has been very real. Like, it's cool to see all this stuff coming out. All right, so Midnight Mushroom said yes, Samantha, smack him.
Please don't smack me.
Ben doesn't want to be smacked. What's your belief on hydrogen peroxide and using it as a sanitizer?
We talked about it.
Yeah.
Don't want to do it.
Don't want to do it. We talked about it earlier. When it'll be when this goes post, it'll still be on there. Absolutely, Sean. Run some tests, man. Let me see what's going on. Definitely want to see how that works. How would you pluck or cut mushroom shiitake wise? So I mean, really, it's just that's one of the reasons why I liked 3782 over some of the bigger shiitakes. The bigger shiitakes are easier to pluck and gather the value, but they tend to be a little less efficient in like weight. The 3782 was kind of nice because if you didn't mind leaving a little bit of substrate at the bottom of the mushroom, which I didn't care, you could just pick up 3782 blocks and just kind of like brush mushrooms off. Like it was very, very easy. Or pick them in clumps. It's because it was a very small, tender mushroom. You can also cut. I've actually wondered about like just cutting with one of those like your bread knife that you got, the electric knives.
My bread saw.
Yeah. Like I was thinking that would probably do really, really well, just going along the edges of the block and cutting mushrooms off.
Yeah.
But you'd have to have a power source.
You'd end up cutting some caps, though.
Yeah, probably, for sure. You also, I don't think there's any battery-powered ones of those bread knives, are there?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, Trevor. The videos are going to be coming out. It's not going to be just one single video. It'll be a series, so it'll be metered out over a while. But I really wanted to. There's some stuff I want to go over. Samantha's hopefully going to help me with some illustrations, and we're going to try to make it a real go of it, so people get a good value for the breeding stuff. I mean, I really want to put some effort into it. That's what I want to be known for. So, the pull and twist you thinks is valid, or scalpels, or what would you say makes harvesting easier? Oh yeah, like I said, just plucking is probably the easiest way. You can use scissors, but it's definitely time consuming either way you do it. Do you know of any good communities for wild mushroom exchanges? I don't. I don't know of any.
There was a wild, or I don't know if it was actually wild or if it was just a plate exchange group on Facebook. Nope, can't remember.
There was mushroom culture trading, which we started and then handed off to a guy.
Right.
Who then shut it down.
Poor sucker.
Yeah, well, he shut it down.
Oh,
so
did he? They probably got crazy in there.
Yeah. But, I mean, you have mycology classifieds, mycology and botany classifieds, official mycology classifieds, and then in mushroom growing, if you just ask if people want to trade, a lot of times people will trade. That link I sent is safe. I haven't seen a link, Squishy. So unless you mean a link that you sent to my email or something. My girl and I forage mushrooms. My dad's favorite is oyster. On your site, what LC you recommend to grow out? Old Road oyster. Mm-hmm. Hands down, Old Road oyster. I've got a video coming out about it. It is not the best yielding. Like I'm assuming you're not talking about sale because you're talking about your dad.
Yeah.
If you're talking about just sheer flavor and pure texture, Old Road oyster.
Yeah.
It is magical.
You have it on the site right
It's
now?
on the site right now. I asked Melanie to go ahead and put it up just because I was so impressed with that mushroom.
Yeah. Yeah, this is... So I love shiitake because the taste, and the Old Road oyster has such a flavor profile that, like, it is right up there with shiitake, but it's in an oyster, which means easy to grow. And like Andrew said, it's not as good yielding as a lot of oysters.
Like by weight. I mean, it's actually, if you sell by volume, it's perfectly fine. But yeah, by weight, it's okay. A little light.
But it's also one of those that has a fully usable stem. So like, I've cooked it just pulled off each individual mushroom and just thrown it on the skillet, and the flavor is just, it's robust. I don't know what flavor terms are, but it's
Right.
it's a good flavor.
Well, it was crazy because the day after, I took some home, Jack took some home, you took some home, and then next thing you know, like we all come in and we're like, "Did you try that Old Road oyster? It's my favorite." And you're like, "It's my favorite." And Jack was like, "Hands down, that's my new favorite mushroom over any other mushroom," which is weird because typically it's like, yeah, okay, that's my favorite oyster strain.
Right.
But, like, oysters are rarely, like, elevated above anything else. But I think Old Road is probably my favorite mushroom. Like to eat. Oh, Yggdrasil's on. What's up? The question I sent above.
Who sent a question?
This guy named Squishy, but there's nothing anywhere. Sorry, Squishy, you probably got squashed by my algorithm. You can't put links in the chat. So that's probably what it was.
That would have got you.
Yep. You'll get me shut down. Don't want to do it. I can put links in. No one else can. I mean, my chat. Anyways, says the link is safe. It probably isn't. No, I agree with you, Yggdrasil. I swear, lol, it's a product that claims to keep away and kill trike. Squishy, are you the guy that sells it? Because I was thinking that I talked to you on Facebook about it. Okay, thank you. We also want to grow lion's mane to add to our tinctures. Yeah, so lion's mane is really good. Bear's head's my favorite Hericium to grow. So good. It's just heavy, big, yielding, good texture. Smells like maple syrup when it's maturing. The comb tooth is probably my second favorite. Oh, you're asking for input on that product? Squishy, I don't know anything about it. There's
MossyCreekMushrooms@gmail.com. Just shoot it over there.
Yeah, shoot the link to MossyCreekMushrooms@gmail.com. I'll take a look at it, but if it's the same guy that I've dealt with before, he refuses to tell me what's in it, what's the active ingredients. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to put something in a food product that I can't know what the ingredients are.
Yeah.
So, Rifleman says add spaces in the link, Squishy. So there you go. You'd still be able to put it, people can put it together. And you won't shut me down.
Did you see the question about growing on newspaper?
Yeah.
The newspaper pellets? Yeah, we answered it. Well, guys, we're at the end of the chat, and it's like 3 hours.
Yep.
So we're getting off. We're going home and hanging out. So can you guys please hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe if you want to get a notification the next time we go live. And, I'll hold off on it. Can you explain the cloning process? Nah, not right now. I've got a video on it. Yeah, check it out, man. I will be doing more cloning videos, but as always, y'all, keep spawning culture.